Hello and welcome to unMadeGaming, guys. It is Wednesday, and that means it's time for Blades in the Dark 6 and 20, the Shroud. The longest name on the shortest channel. Yeah, that's right, because I'm a little guy. Perfect, nailed it. So, we'll jump right into this and introduce our characters here. We'll start with Greg. Who are you, what are you doing here, and who are you playing tonight?
My name is Greg, Grimjack21502, and I will be playing the Tycherosi Steam. And I can't wait to actually do something because I was on the sidelines last week while everybody else did political stuff, which is super fun.
Sorry.
Right.
Sorry we furthered the plot.
Right, whatever. Next, who's up next? Go.
Recently identified as another Tycherosi, Miss Ginger Ninja, who are you, what are you doing here, and who are you playing tonight?
I'm going to be playing OC. We're going to get a little more into her backstory, and we're getting closer, guys. We're hot on the trail. Pretty pumped about it.
Sweet. Perfect segue. Who else is hot on the trail? Slade, who are you? What are you doing here? And who are you playing tonight?
I will be returning as Reymond Bowerstone, the soon-to-be ruler of all of Doskvol in about Season 10.
Yep. Perfect.
That's about it.
I don't have anything to add to that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. And the current ruler of all of Doskvol, Johnny, who are you? What are you doing here? And why did you do this to yourself?
You mean I'm in competition with Slade now?
Yeah.
You know, I'm in competition? Oh, this is gonna... You know what? Guys, I quit. You know what?
Fair.
Shroud wins. I quit.
Game over. You heard it here first. If you guys are from Phantoms, Shroud won already.
Okay, so we are here to continue the ever crazy adventure of the Shroud. Last week, you guys accomplished a quite a interesting social engagement score with one of two contacts that Nix had recommended that Reymond make in his pursuit of becoming the alderman of Crowsfoot. And I'm having lots of ums and sorry guys, but so anyways, you successfully accomplished a score. And then we swapped over to find out a little bit more about what's going on between the connection of OC and the Dimmer sisters, and subsequently finding out that they are aware of the meeting that's coming up very soon for all of you, or for some subset of you, depending upon how it all plays out, in respect to the invitation that Nix received. We also are still left hanging with the fate of what's actually happening with Nye. She is currently in the care of the Dimmer sisters as OC kind of steps away from her to accomplish, some other things for the Dimmer sisters. So, all that being said, I believe we were in the middle of downtime last time, and at the end of last session, we talked a little bit about Steam doing an off-camera roll, which he critted, I believe, and that will have consequences in effect. But it was to kind of veil the story a little bit and give a little bit of an opportunity for him and I and the rest of the group to have a discussion. So that actually happened off screen. It was really cool what he's interested in doing, and so as Steam, as that becomes, you guys become aware of that as the viewers. It was a crit roll just for mechanical purposes. So now we're going to jump over to OC, and she is going to do her downtime actions. So where do you want to begin?
I am just opening roll 20 right now.
Pro.
I was napping. I was napping pretty hard.
And you deserve it. It's all good.
So I definitely want to keep training.
Okay.
Work towards
your swords, your mastery of swordsmanship. Sure. All right. So do you want to talk a little bit about, because previously you had wanted to do a long-term project to take yourself from apprenticeship to adept in Eruvian swords in swordsplay. Do you want to talk a little bit about that just briefly? Kind of clue everybody in as to what happened there. You don't have to go into too many details. Just kind of fill in the blanks for everyone around the table and the viewers.
Yeah. So OC's main goal when she came to the city was to just kind of find a place where, she wouldn't be stealing things. She wouldn't be as, I guess, tainted. And so when she found the Dimmer sisters and they were asking her to steal things, she was hesitant, but they were very welcoming. And so she, kind of gave in, but said she didn't want to do any of the arcane. Along with that came the responsibility of, okay, well, you're going to be out on your own and you're young. You need to learn how to fight, defend yourself. You're not going to have an escort with you when you're doing these jobs. So part of that was, since she was very young, was dressing up as a boy and going to swords fighting school with the red sashes. And over a few years, she was training with them while she was doing these odds and ends and kind of learning from the sisters. And, oddly enough, they were teaching her how to be a more proper young lady because she didn't really get that upbringing, which is why seems prim and proper when she's, in her establishments. And at the same time, the other half the days she was fighting, dressed as a boy.
And so what was the evolution like for her to go from just being essentially a waif on the streets to being essentially an adept, a skilled sword fighter? Was it just a circumstance of it gave her more discipline? Because it seems like you were already getting a little bit of that as well from the Dimmer sisters and the work that you were doing. Yeah,
she was getting it sort of from both ends. So it was, being more sly and being, kind to people and kind of using people's words against them and stealing and all of that, working towards being more of I guess you could say a spy type. And then the other half of it was physical training her body and practicing every day and getting into shape and, really pushing herself and I guess more trusting her body more, if that makes sense. Finding out that she was she wasn't just this little kid anymore,
And so just from a final, quick question and point of reference to all of this, she was about 8 or 9 when she came into the service of the Dimmer sisters, right? Mm-hmm. And around the same time, she started her training as an adept or as an apprentice. How long did it take her to gain adept status?
Adept, probably 2-3 years.
Okay. All right. Great. All right. So with that in mind, so you're going to be training your adepts in which discipline did you choose?
The sash fighting.
The sash fighting. Do you want to talk a little bit about that, or do you want that to come up as a part of gameplay?
The reason she chose it is working when she started, she started out as a madam, so people all just assumed that she was a prostitute and worked her way up. She was never a prostitute. She worked with the Dimmer sisters and under dark circumstances acquired a brothel and built her empire that way. So she took kind of the, people think awful things of madams and of women and, we're just objects. And, she had that whole thought process because the Dimmer sisters are sisters. There's no men, So she took that ideology of women are strong too and all of that and took something as beautiful as sashes into something that is deadly.
Okay. Excellent. All right. And so you're doing your training as your first downtime action. Mechanically, do you want to, you're basically doing the advancement of that, correct?
Yeah, just the advancement for one of them. Yep.
Okay.
She's also for her second downtime action going to relieve some stress.
Okay. And how is she going to do that, given that Naya is currently preoccupied?
She is going to summon her friend, who she feels is always watching her, to train again with her. She's just going full force right now. She's spending all of her free time practicing fighting and all of that, and she wants a target that's hard to hit.
Okay. All right. So why don't you go ahead and roll your indulge vice?
Okay, so 2.
Okay, so now you're down to 4 stress. Excellent.
Okay.
Johnny, I'm going to spend a coin so I can too take this opportunity to relieve stress.
All right. Okay. Hold on, thought.
Sure.
I'm gonna ask OC one more time if she'd like to spend some rep or coin and do one additional, and do an additional downtime action, or do anything in the downtime action before we get back to Steam, giving him an opportunity to do the same.
She's gonna spend 1 coin and do it again.
Okay. Now you are aware that this is a possibility you can overindulge.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Fair enough.
Sorry. She's never done that. God damn it.
Well,
Technically,
you were the first person, you were the first player and the first character to overindulge. So, let's talk a little bit about
a suggestion.
Let's talk a little bit about overindulgence. I'm definitely going to open it up
Greg
to the table.
just beats my ass. Just fucking like half dead.
But Greg's been thinking about, he's been obsessing way too much about this as well. So I totally get it. Now, overindulgence is a consequence. It's like an entanglement, or it's like a very extreme set of circumstances that arise from you overindulging, you being overly, in this particular case, possibly overly aggressive, right? In the case of your relationship with Nye, it would have been something very tied to the act of what you're doing there. So with that in mind, it's essentially introducing a consequence to the story. Now, I'm going to open it up to the table, but specifically because Greg's piped up and had an idea, and let's see what you guys come up with. So, Greg, please.
I have a question about the mechanical aspect before.
Okay.
Do I still have 4 stress now?
No, your stress
0?
is gone.
Okay, so I want to know, is it you lose all of it and you're fucked, or you just...
Yes, you still
Okay.
you still get the benefit of indulging your vice. You still get that completely. However,
Do your worst.
it's the consequence. So the table is yours, Greg. Please go ahead and let's get started.
Oh, it's mine. I feel so special. No, with overindulgence, you have basically 4 sets of circumstances that could pop up. You attract trouble, you brag, which increases the heat on the crew. You are lost, which means that you basically wander in your vice and blah, blah, blah. Or you're tapped. Now, tapped is the one I'd like to focus on right now, because tapped means that you can no longer use that outlet to reduce your vice in the future. Johnny, correct me if I'm wrong. So you have eliminated that vice purveyor, whoever gave you that relief. You can't go back to them for some time. If that's the case, and
So I can't fight anymore. Well, I can't train. I can't fight to train or to relieve stress anymore.
You can, just not with Steam.
Does that mean we can't fight near each other, or I can't use you as an outlet for stress to
Correct.
train? Okay.
That's, to my understanding.
Okay.
However, it would require this session to be... It would have to be labeled such that we could no longer continue to do it. So there would have to be something that would occur during our training session that would prohibit us, Steam and OC, from doing this type of training again.
So, let's take a step back for a second and talk about the training that you guys would be doing together, right? So would it be straight up sword fighting, or would it be sword fighting for Ginge and whatever it is that Steam does, whether it's whatever blade he chooses, or even, I mean, what does that look like? And what does it look like when you guys train together, or when you're helping her train?
Well, here's my idea, that the overindulgence isn't necessarily OC's fault, because Steam views her in a way that has not yet been necessarily narratively revealed to her. He views her as a god. That this whole thing could be a training exercise that he takes maybe a little too far. It doesn't necessarily have to be like combat or martial too far, but maybe he tries to draw something out of her that she's not willing to traveled down quite yet. You know, maybe he oversteps.
Yeah,
You know?
I'm thinking maybe like she's normally training, and he is like, "How are you gonna save Nye if you're fighting like that?" And she's just like, "Nope," and just gets really fucking pissed, throws down the sword, and just tries to beat the shit out of him, and it turns into like, you know, a little bit more of than a training session.
It could definitely do that. You know, Steam is carnal in nature as well, and his vice usually involves something, as does OC's. We're doing a different type of stress relief here. I mean, normally yours is with Nye, mine is in the choir or doing something like that. But we're training, and the way that Steam does this is when he was brought up under the rules or the doctrine, you know, God must be strong. And he had different things that he was basically subjected to. And so this might be his way of kind of bleeding those beliefs and that upbringing onto OC to see if, you know, a God must be strong. You know, you can't save Nye this way. But he has a completely different motive. It's not supposed to be, you know, it's not a coach or a football coach trying to rah her into, it's to, you know, promote some type of evolution. That's my idea.
Yeah. And she, until you say something about it, she wouldn't understand that aspect. She would just think that you're, like, she would understand after, like, okay, like, once she's, like, worked through it, like, okay, he was just trying to get me to, like, work harder. But during it, she would just fucking hate you.
Okay.
Storms are brewing.
Okay,
Right.
Just to clarify though, what's going on here is that there is this training that's going on, or essentially there's this aggressive sword fighting that's going, or this aggressive fighting that's going on, and each of you are approaching it from very different angles, and the different approaches to the relieving of stress, right? The indulging of your vice, right? That's where the conflict comes up, and it's actually Steam's
Words.
It's Steam's.
I can do something else if you want to RP it.
No, I'm trying to understand. I mean, what the you know, what the true, because honestly, what this is going to do is that this is going to affect OC as a character, right? She's no longer going to be able to, if you guys believe tap is the right way to go, she's no longer going to be able to, you know, to indulge in any way, shape, or form with you, because she's just not going to be able to get that connection there. It's not going to happen. You know, that she's not going to be able to do that with you.
Is that never again, or is that like not for the foreseeable future?
Your current purveyor cuts you off, basically, right? So it's a circumstance where that he is a purveyor of vice for you at this point, right?
Okay.
This is your first interaction that you guys are doing this, and he just pisses you off so much, or he just does something that just so puts you out that you're just like, why am I even, you know, going near this guy, kind of a situation.
Yeah, we might not want to do that.
You would probably not
We
want
gotta
to
deal with each other for a few more seasons.
Well, episodes, maybe.
So are you expecting to die there, Steve?
God damn it.
Maybe,
Okay.
maybe.
So that's one option, and I don't have a problem with that being an option, or it may be being somebody that using the same idea, but maybe it's somebody from the Red Sashes that you used to train with, and maybe something happens where you kill them, or you wound them in such a way that they're no longer able to fight, or, you know, something happens with that. If you want to call that tapped, that's great. I'm okay with attracting trouble too, though, and I think that there's a couple of opportunities there. From a story perspective as well. I want to make sure that this is something that you totally want to do if you're going to do the tap thing.
Can we know what the other option is, and then we choose?
Well, I'm going to still ask, you know, Slade
Okay.
and Mike to step in and see if they have any ideas. And then I've got one for because what will happen is if it comes up with an entanglement, then it would be another entanglement roll for you guys that's kind of hanging out there.
Sorry, guys.
Why don't we can do the increased heat too, right?
You can do the increased heat too, and then you can operate on, you know, deflecting that or reducing that at some point later. So
But
How about
I
if we
think this is more of a personal thing, though. because what's happening between you is a personal thing. And I don't exactly see it being like a major thing that would bring heat upon the group.
She would do it in not the veil, but like somewhere like that, like home.
Oh,
turf.
you should. I'm gonna make a narrative suggestion. You should do it at the Veil.
Yeah, I just meant more for like like attracting heat. Like it's not. It wouldn't. Okay, whatever.
If you do it at the Veil, or if you do it in any establishment where, with this type of activity where you're training or you're doing fighting or whatever, I'm gonna rather than it be like somebody from the Red Sashes or it being the interaction between you and Steam, I'm gonna ask you to describe what's happening there because I want a little bit of clarification about that. But maybe in that some way somebody sees there's something revealed. Maybe it's maybe you let your part of your garment is your fighting outfit is cut in such a way and it reveals a little bit about your heritage or your background, and that comes in and brings heat because all of a sudden it wasn't known that you were Tycherosi before, or it could be maybe there is some note that is slipped out of your belongings that kind of indicates something. It really comes out what happens when it comes to bragging, and maybe it's you claiming to do something in a fight or doing something as a part of a score that just kind of overdoes it. It really doesn't have to be something that we overly describe, but in the case of if you're going to indulge in some place where you're going off someplace to go and do some sort of training or fighting in sort of a public establishment kind of a thing, like a pleasure den of some kind, I'd want to know a little bit more because it helps build for me the story about where she would go when she's not seeking pleasure from from Nye. Yeah. Because the last time you did, when Nye was gone, you sought you sought the arms of somebody else, and it wasn't great for you, but you at least indulged in your vice. Mm-hmm. And so this is very different, right? This is a different type of pleasure for you.
Yeah, I see her going to like the Veil in like the dungeon or something, like in a big open space, moving stuff out of the way, and just like needing to,
Well, so we've talked about this before. The Veil is a place that indulges every type of vice, and so the opportunity there. The opportunity, damn it, Mike, stop messaging me privately. The opportunity is there to really kind of explore some of the extremes that you would find at the Veil. So yeah, if it's at the Veil, then can you just kind of describe to me what it's like when you go there to indulge in fighting, essentially, as a pleasure.
Yeah. For her, it would be like what's happening to me, like I need to train. Like going to him and being like, I need this right now. It's gonna be you, or it's gonna be someone who can't defend themselves as well.
Okay. And so what is the setting that you're fighting in look like? What is this? Is it underground?
I pictured that room that we were keeping the demon in, which he is no longer.
So it's like a little dungeon setting, basically.
But like a big open room, because it was like a big room with like instruments and stuff around the sides. So it was like.
Okay. All right. Cool. So when you you're accepting, are you accepting tapped or are you accepting heat or brag as the?
I don't think she would brag. That's the thing. She's not. She doesn't. If she did, it would be someone overheard her talking to Nye. Like she wouldn't do that with. She doesn't have that connection with anyone. That she would be like, guess what I did.
Okay. So when this fighting is happening, and there is you are engaged. What action do you think would happen that OC would take that would prevent you being able to indulge this particular pleasure at the Veil again? Because that's the consequences, that you're not going to be able to indulge this particular vice at the Veil again.
Yeah, I think it would be along the lines of what Greg said, where he makes, he's pushing his belief, and I'm just trying to not.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize that it was still you and.
Is that not a thing anymore?
I've got a narrative suggestion here.
Okay, go for it.
Okay, why don't we do this training not necessarily at the Vale. I know that I laughed before and looked around because Johnny has got a hard on for us getting to the Vale, and I don't want to, slow that down. But why don't we do this training on my barge? And the heat that would come from that isn't necessarily something, we're seen together. Maybe one of my cultists sees us. Normally Steam isn't seen, period. But he feels the need to bring her to the barge, not only to kind of introduce her to the space, but
she sees her stone, doesn't she?
She would, yeah.
Oh boy. Could the drawback be that she's like, I'm flattered, but you're really weirding me the fuck right out, dude. Take me back to land.
Technically, she'd have to attune to see it because in the real world, it doesn't appear as anything. It's a painting on the wall above the stone. But if he took her there to train, someone saw them because he wasn't walking invisibly. He was with somebody. He's never with somebody. He's never not walking invisibly, and that rarity and that steam contributes to the fact that creates two heat. And if that's good with everybody else, I think that's probably the best way instead of increasing entanglement or doing the tap thing.
Actually, I'm okay with that being the way to increase heat. Everybody else? Okay, excellent. All right, so
can I spend my coin and indulge vice before we do this?
You sure can.
Yay!
So we gain 2 heat from that, right?
You gain 2 heat from that, yes.
What are we at right now?
6.
Out of, what is it out of again?
9.
Okay. Sorry, guys.
Oh, hell yeah!
Did you have 6?
I did.
Wow. Okay. So, given the weirdness of the things that you've talked about before, Steam, why don't you just give us a quick rundown of what happens when Steam indulges his vice this time?
Okay, well, if this is, I don't want to get into the specifics of the combat scenario because I think that really lends itself to be experienced narratively for the first time at some point whenever OC is doing something other than training. So as we are going back and forth with this, Steam would produce 2 knives about a foot in length. He carries one in an undergrip, one in a foregrip, and he matches what OC is producing, slipping in and out of the ghost field as it helps him to gain advantage or help in her training or help in his training because she's as advanced as he is. However, at one point, when they lock, kind of in that classic swashbuckler lightsaber moment of guard on guard, he gets very close to her and he looks at her directly in the eyes with the steam coming out. And has she ever taken lore before? OC? If she inhales at this point, she has. So when he gets very close to her, he pulls in and he says, "A god must be strong." And then they go at it even more intensely. Steam would, of course, do something else other than fight at this point, but that's all depends on what...
Not gonna say what I was gonna say.
Come on, you know you want to.
I'm oddly aroused, but still pretty angry.
Okay,
What's the lady equivalent of an anger boner?
Ditto, right?
All right. Okay, children, this isn't junior high. All right, so does anybody else want to spend coin or use rep to indulge some more vice? Or sorry, to do another downtime action?
I will.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are we doing for Mr. Bowerstone?
Starting a long-term project.
Okay, what is this long-term project?
It's going to be gaining information on my rival in the political campaign using his connections.
Using whose connections?
Reymond Bowerstone's. If you remember the backstory that I sent you 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I don't remember shit like that.
Yeah,
I don't know what you're
I
talking about, man.
bet you do. But he has connections, or somewhat people he knows.
Okay.
Would you like me to type it to you so as to not?
No, I
reveal-
remember who it was. I'm just giving you a hard time because
I bet
it
you
fed
are.
into the Bowerbomb. I'm sorry, the Bowerstone. I mean the Bower, the Bower Bottom.
Which one?
So it fed into the Bowerstone, or you just do the Bowerbomb backstory.
Yep.
Okay, so with that, all right. I'm not going to ask you to reveal that particular part of the plot point yet, but talk to us a little bit more about what you're going to do when starting this long-term project, so I know how to gauge it in respect to the amount of segments on the clock.
Mm-hmm. So he would go to them and tell them about what he's been up to, his recent activities, his connections, and now this new person that is running against him for alderman, and asking what they would require from him for their services.
So so wait a minute, but you want more information, but you're basically just asking him basically a trade.
Yeah. So I'm asking them to do what they do best.
Sure.
But because of what our relationship is,
Sure.
what do they want in return?
Okay.
It's something that can be negotiated off screen later on.
Well, no, I'm not worried about the negotiation. I'm still trying to gauge how effective they're going to be based on. I mean, because you're not really asking them to do. You're not really asking them to do anything other than gather information for you. So
I'm looking for blackmail, essentially.
Okay, that's what I was looking for. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Okay. So this is going to be a 6-segment clock. And again, you'll go through the process of negotiation. We can do it off screen. You can even do it on screen if you really want to, or we can just kind of hand wave it and make it expedient. But I am going to have you go ahead and start the roll for the 6-segment clock. Now,
Okay.
how are you going to? I mean, since you mentioned negotiation, this sounds like a consort or a sway. In respect to how you're going to determine the result of this roll.
Well, I'm better in sway, so I think that's definitely the way I want to go about it.
Okay.
Would you like me to narratively say?
No. That's fine. Go ahead and let's go ahead and start this roll. And there's no position. There's no
effect.
Yeah, there's no position or effects, and then we can talk very briefly about
bonuses.
Yes, I am going to give you one bonus die specifically because of your background connection with them.
Okay. I mean, I don't know if another bonus dice would be that they gain something from knowing this. They would gain, I don't know, because surely blackmail used against someone of that position can be used by more than just one person.
Okay. Shit. Sure, but it's this is a business transaction, so I think that they're going to assume that it's more about serving you as a benefit than anything else. So,
yeah, I mean, it could also be benefiting themselves.
I think your prior relationship is enough for just the one die at this point.
Okay, that's cool. I mean, I'm happy to stick with one die then.
Okay, all right.
Otherwise, then I'm just pulling stuff out of my ass.
Which you already are, but that's okay.
Ooh, yeah, 6.
Okay, so let's you get 3 bits towards you get three segments towards the completion of this. Mm-hmm. So what they tell you is that they're finding quite a bit of information about him. They're putting their sources together and kind of gathering it all at this point, but they should have they should have something for you that is pretty substantial when they finally deliver it. They do know a fair amount about him. They're just trying to confirm a couple of rumors, essentially. That all being said, they do give you one little tidbit of information, which is he may not be who he says he is. Like, he may not be from the noble house family that he says that he's from.
Okay. Cool.
All right.
Guess that win that for me.
Okay. So that is Horace Keel. That's 3 steps on the clock. All right. There we go. Anybody else? Mike, you good? Okay. All right. So now we're in free play, guys. So the circumstances of the meeting between Mr. Bowerstone and Lady Rowan and the Dimmer sisters and the Dimmer sisters and the OC circumstances, and then Steam following her. So where do you guys end up back? Are you back at Eden, or how do you guys connect back up?
Yeah,
Mike, remind me if didn't we go back to my place? Shut up.
I'm sorry that I thought I was being hostile.
If you count yourself lucky, we'll go back to your place.
I've been gone for 5 minutes, Bowerstone.
You went back to your place to begin setting up for the dinner.
Yeah.
Nix went to go do Nix things.
All right.
Well, so as you get back to your home to begin to establish all of the things, and you actually believe one of your downtime actions was to start kind of getting everything in place. What happens is you receive a message from a courier coming up to your door and basically letting you know that Balmore regrets that he's not going to be able to make the date that you had originally established to have your meeting. He asks you to forgive him and indulge him as he'd like to treat you to a night at the Vale. And you're welcome to bring any of your entourages you're more than as you're able to or you want to, and that he would like to conduct the business of this meeting in a private room there.
I can't go dark in the Vale.
Neutral territory. Lord Bowmore is a smart man.
Yeah, he's taking me out. I can't go dark. I won't be.
So just for narrative purposes, do you want to explain that a little bit, Steve?
The Vale is essentially holy ground. It is any effort for me to sneak into the Vale would be seen as an aggressive maneuver or not an act of war, but an act of espionage, something that's not above board, and the management would frown upon it. And by the management, that would be every conceivable organized crime member in Doskvol. So I can't go in dark, or they'll know it. Not to mention, I think they have tier 4. What's their tier? What's the Vale's tier? It's way above my pay grade.
Are you talking about it in respect to its protections?
Wait a minute. You're getting paid?
Yeah, everybody here is getting paid besides you.
Yeah.
Some of us actually work.
Some of us don't need to work.
Oh, let's not get started on this. Okay, guys. So when you enter the Vale, one of the things that's always kind of struck me when we've talked about it being neutral ground, is there's got to be essentially in my head a place where people who don't want to be seen can come in and still be able to enter and not be judged or to be challenged in that respect. So and also in my head, the Vale is almost not like it's a large place, but it's deceptively small on the outside. So there's many entry points into the various areas of pleasure that operate as the Vale. So I could see there being essentially an atrium or an entry, an entryway where those who don't wish to be seen or hidden in some way, shape, or form can enter in there.
I agree, but
front door.
Right. There's
You're the
no
front
way.
door.
Right.
We're going through the front door.
Yeah, that's my suggestion too, because we're gonna draw. If I try to do that, if I don't roll something incredible, they're gonna figure out that I came in. So I can stay pretty much. They'll know that somebody's with you, but they won't have any idea how to like describe me or anything like that. So
Just spruce up. Look the part.
no, hell no.
You're hanging with the alderman.
I have a shadow cloak. I'm fine.
I don't.
That's all. That's the only person I need to hang with.
At least
Dude,
have a
you got a
pocket
huge
watch.
target on your back. Don't fucking advertise. You get to hang out with me. I'm super cool, like death.
I'm being a politician.
We have our own problems, buddy.
I need a meat shield. Right.
Yeah. All right, so let's go to the Vale then.
Okay,
do
so
I meet Steam there?
I'm sorry, what?
Do I meet Steam at the Vale?
Well, hold on, guys, hold on. So the note also specifies a very specific time and day, and it happens to be a week away from the night in which you were supposed to. So you have a fair bit of downtime or you have a fair bit of free time to do any type of other activity, or Nix can check into with his Rook network prior to the circumstance, or prior to that time or place. It also gives you an opportunity for OC to share what happened, and vice versa.
Johnny, is the Vale going to be considered a score?
The meeting is going to be considered a score. Yes. So a meeting on neutral ground.
Okay, I just want to I'm going to start working on my loadout.
Wait,
It's my first loadout, everybody.
Wait, which meeting is this? We have so many meetings, guys. I haven't
Bowmore.
checked my planner in a
The
while.
Bowmore meeting,
Okay,
which is not at my house now. It's at the Vale.
that's why I was confused. Okay. So should OC be out? Should you just leave?
Well, last that you, OC and Reymond talked, you left.
Mhm.
Have you come back?
She can go check in with her establishments while you guys do stuff. See what she's heard about the word.
So you're specifically referring to the circumstances around the failed attempt at deflecting heat against you guys.
No,
2
I
weeks
just
ago.
was gonna check in, but if that's, I mean, if you wanna put that on.
It's okay. You can be a little, you
I
can be a
actually
little direct about
wasn't. I was just like, I don't have anything else to. She's got nothing at this point. She's got a lot of businesses, but she's real lonely, so she's just gonna go check it out for establishments.
Well, so that's actually one of the things that Nye used to do for you, right? Is that
Yeah.
Nye took care of some of the business aspects while you were able to do a lot of the things that you would do for the Dimmer Sisters.
Mm-hmm.
So without that, you find yourself a little, taxed a little bit because you're having to get engaged more in the day-to-day of your business.
Mm-hmm.
And when you come in, you find out that things are, that this is actually a little bit of work. So you check in the books a little bit, stuff that you've done before, but some things that you just haven't had to do in a while, and so that takes a little bit of your time. You check in with each of your establishments and your girls, and you hear the various grievances and problem child patrons that you have to go and either smooth things over, or you have to blacklist, or you have to pay some respect to because there was some offense, right?
Okay.
And so that takes up a lot of your time. But so in all of that, a message gets to you from one of your girls that works at an establishment that you have in Silkshore, your primary establishment, and the gist of it is that she was frequenting a place that is known in the artist area, or the sort of the artist sub-district of Silkshore, which is where a lot of, at a place called the Scarlet Rose, which is a place where vice purveyors and vice workers, anybody who works in the pleasure trade actually goes to indulge themselves, to relax and be among those where they don't have to feel like they're being on all the time and can just kind of enjoy themselves. And you get some hint that there was a fair amount of effort put by a couple of people sitting, there recently, pushing the idea that OC had some sort of connection to, in some vague way or shape or form, to the group that was involved in the tower, the lightning barrier tower falling over in Barrowcleft, and that the girl that you were that works for you, she was sitting at the next table just kind of enjoying herself, as you will in that establishment, and she reported back that while there wasn't a lot of weight put into like the conversation, and people really just didn't kind of buy or believe it, that there was some sort of transaction that this was trying to be spread around. Nobody was buying it though. It seemed that the table wasn't really interested in what this woman was having to say. And as you're I imagine that you, after you hear this or you get this information, you would go and find the young woman. But at the end of it, she can't really give you a very good description of who it was or anybody at the table, because she was also drunk herself. It was just the mention of your name in reference to this that caught her ear finally.
Would she know that it was at least like who it was that said it?
She doesn't have an accurate description. She was incredibly drunk, and she was trying to be discreet. She's not somebody trained in spycraft in the trade of that. So she doesn't have a whole lot of details to give to you. She did know that it was a woman that was conveying this information, and that there were a couple of Imperial soldiers with them at the table at the time.
Okay. She'll pay her for her time and tell her to take the night off.
Okay.
And go back to, because she's doing this in the establishment, I assume.
Yeah, she was
that
talking
she works
to you.
at. Yeah. So she'll give her the night off. She'll go to the manager and say, send one of the girls around. Because I'm assuming that would be her last stop, because that's the biggest one.
Sure, absolutely.
And she would say, just send someone around. The arrangement still stands that she's not allowed, because she is going to assume it's her, because no one ever fucks with her.
Right.
She just goes about her day. So she'll just say, okay, it still stands. If she's seen in any establishment that I own, she's not allowed there. And rather than kick her out, find me. If she's seen another establishment by any of the girls, I understand you're off the clock. If you see her, if anyone goes back and sees her, if you can get word to me, I'll pay you, pretty much, type of deal.
Okay, so are you jumping to the conclusion? Just so I understand this, are you jumping to the conclusion that you think that this is Ari actually doing this?
Yeah.
Okay.
She has a pretty tight wrap on all the people that work for her. Obviously, things happen, things slip up, but not like this.
Okay, sure. All right. So, manager takes that onto account, begins to write a couple of messages to send off via the couriers to update them on the information that they have about this particular individual. And then that pretty much eats up a good portion of your time. And so you find yourself, I guess, what is the intent of the crew right now for the Balmore meeting? I mean, I'm not getting a lot from you guys. I
was going to stay out of it.
Okay.
Slade, it's your show, man.
I mean, look,
if you wanted help, I could be there.
For the Balmore meeting, it's just with the way that the crew, because everyone sort of split off like 2 episodes ago. So right now, the only one he's really had contact with is Nyx. Unless Steam was to drop by or OC was to drop by, he would really only rely on Nyx at this point to be by his side to know what's going on. If anyone was to drop by, sure, that's fine. But since it's in the Vale, a neutral place, he's a lot more relaxed than what he was for Lady Rowan.
All right, so
He's not threatening about us.
We should all be there.
The meeting was supposed to be a day after the Rowan meeting. That got pushed to the side, so we have 3 days, right? That was the number of days?
No, it's a week.
A week.
A week.
There's a week.
You have a week
to go by that we can meet up and discuss what happened. So
All right.
let's do that.
Let's meet up.
Yeah, because obviously we know that some shit went down with OC and Steam, and you and I know that some shit went down with Rowan, and some of those things touch tips.
Reymond's actually going to invite everyone over to his place.
So is that the established, like, I was walking out the door, you're like, go to my place when you're done doing that thing.
Tea at 12.
Okay,
Sure,
T
why
at 12.
Tea at 12.
Yeah, so we arrive, at Bowerstone Manor. What does Bowerstone Manor look like?
So Bowerstone Manor, it's the brick on it is dark and it looks quite run down, but going in the inside, it's a lot more luxurious and cleaned up. But there's this faint smell that gives you a wee bit of a gag, like something. For those that have been around, like meat, rotting meat, and blood, just that sickly scent in the air. And you're greeted by what looks to me quite a thin, grey-bearded man, all done up. Excuse me, can I help you?
Your name Wilfred?
Does he leave the door open?
Yes.
Okay. Nyx just pushes by him.
Excuse me, this is most irregular.
No, it's fine. You're excused. Sit, old man, before you break something. Bowerstone, where are you? Your manservant boy.
He's gonna trinkle his way downstairs, doing up his jacket. It's okay, you can leave. Of course, sir. This hooligan just came in and pushed his way in. Yeah, he's like that. It's fine. Just get the tea ready. At once, sir. Right, Nyx. Welcome to my humble abode.
We're not having the meeting here, are we?
No,
Good.
we're not.
Well, good.
I dare say it's better than whatever blanket you live under.
I live in Eden, so it's quite nice there.
Of course you do. Just one rule. Don't go upstairs to the third room on the left. That's it. Understood?
No.
And he's just going to walk down slowly, and his face, it turns from a more joking to a more serious tone. If you go in that fucking room, I'll kill you.
Is that your jacket room?
Right. Yes. No problem.
Time out for just a second, real quick, just so I know how to set this up. Slade, can you privately message me what's in that room?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
It's his sex dungeon.
Why would he need a sex dungeon at his house when he can go to OC's establishments for that all the time?
It's
Because
just,
sometimes.
What do you think Wilfred is?
It's just a walk-in closet full of coats.
Coats.
Yeah.
Are they made of lamb?
No, he has an.
Do you tie them with a bow?
He has an electroplasm.
lotion on
Just like the coat rack moves, and you just cycle through coats. It's like a laundromat.
But it's a wheel. It's just like a crank wheel.
Yeah. Yeah, he looks up the stairs towards the third floor, the second room on the left, and he follows you wherever the hell you're going.
Yeah, he's going to not go upstairs, he's going to go downstairs into his living quarters. Please have a sit. Tea or maybe something stronger?
No, I bring my own almost everywhere. And he reaches into his pocket and pulls out Dagger Isle's fire whiskey.
Okay. Nyx, you lovely son of a bitch, you. You fucking pulled it off, my friend.
Come again?
At dinner, Lady Rowan?
Oh, yes, of course, as I had said before, my good man. Doors and keys. Doors and keys.
You fucking pulled it off, so as payment, I'm gonna let you keep the jacket.
Oh, this is where I feign surprise. Don't worry, Reymond, you're the payment. Keep doing what you do. I'll keep opening those doors, and you keep being useful. Or what some consider useful.
Quite. Now, do you happen to know where that ghostly fellow in OC are?
OC is going to walk in and greet whatever old guy's name is.
Chives.
And when he tries to take her jacket, she's holding spare clothes that she packed in the carriage.
Mm-hmm.
And just, you don't want to do that, believe me. Is there somewhere I can change? So she'll go and...
Yep. It will escort her to a spare room.
Steam will walk in behind her, visible.
And you, sir, who are you?
I believe we are both on the payroll.
Right. Master, someone on the payroll here to see you. The hell are you? Oh, fuck. Yep, bring him in.
She's like, I don't think he means me.
No, she's not. Come through. Right, Steam. And he watches OC leave, and he's just like, well.
Well, what? We are here.
I believe when we last left off, you said you want me to follow her, and I said yes. Is everything okay before we have a group discussion?
Everything is fine.
Okay.
When I caught up with her and we spoke, we were on our way back here.
Nix, he is telling the truth.
Oh yeah, thanks for remembering what my abilities are.
She has a little bit of a cut lip too. She's a little bruised.
Well, Steam, I just have one very important question. Tea or coffee?
Neither.
Whatever he likes then. Please have a seat.
I'll stand.
He takes
Have a stand.
Thank you, sir.
And he's just going to lean in his chair looking pretty chuffed. Oh, we had quite the night, Steam. You should have been there. What were those vegetables? Those were something.
Poison.
That's the one.
Sounds riveting.
It was. We were given an antidote. Everything worked out like a charm. But in the meantime, Bowerstone almost got us killed again. So
It's quite a specialty of mine. I seem to escape death a lot.
no, you seem to be saved from death all the time.
Matter of words. Doesn't matter. Steam, do you eat?
I do.
Would you know the taste of poison if you tasted it?
I'm not sure I would be stupid enough to have poison if I were to taste it, but this is your book. I am simply engaged in a chapter.
No, I agree. I think we're going to have to acquire some of our own types of vegetables for that. Wouldn't you say, Nix? I'm not going to feed Steam. Don't be stupid. No, I'm meaning for another occasion.
Sure. We're gonna
Where the
choose
hell
whatever vegetable gardening you have in mind. My good Lord
Yeah.
Bowerstone.
Now, where on earth is OC?
She'll come downstairs with the glasses that you pour usually have, what's it called? The decanter? She's just drinking out of the decanter when she comes down the stairs.
And Draken is the name of the butler.
Like
Right.
a dragon, but like
Like
Draken.
Draken.
Sure, why not?
Like Draken Malfoy.
I feel like
It's Draken on the floor.
What's Draken on the floor?
I've been drinking.
Yep.
Draken.
OC, please, a seat.
It's a Toby Keith song.
She'll... He's out.
We're gonna end the stream, guys. We lost a player. If anyone wants to play Blades in the Dark,
No, I think we're done. I think we're done filling that spot.
yeah, find me on Twitter at unMadeGaming on Twitter, please.
she'll come down the stairs, and you see that she's a little bit more relaxed than when she left, and she's fidgeting with something in her hand. And she'll say, I'll make myself comfortable. And she'll just go over and start like looking through your books and just kind of like walking around the room a little bit.
Mm-hmm. And he doesn't mind in this room. He's fine with her doing that. There's nothing suspicious here. So, anything to report?
She doesn't know if you're talking to her, so she's just going to keep looking around.
How is she?
It's tough to say, really. She's not going to be putting on any masks for you anytime soon, if that's what you mean.
I'm meaning, is the doctor going to be able to mend her? I assume that's where you took her.
Doctor, that's cute.
Manner of politeness. I don't think you'd exactly take her to see someone of that nature. But it's not for me to pry, OC, is it?
She'll take a drink and have a seat and look directly at Nyx. You're going to meet the man in white, correct?
Yes.
I have something for you to give to him. A gift, if you will.
Go on.
We don't talk about our backgrounds. We lead our lives, we help each other, we make up for certain parts of the team. She looks over. But we don't pry. And I don't share. I found Nye when I was younger here. And I have a dark background. It doesn't involve any of our business, at least at the moment. But I have more information on that man in white and your vision and the note.
Do go on.
Does Magdalene ring a bell?
It does not.
So she's going to go into, I don't want to go into the whole back, she's going to go through everything that the sisters told her. I do have family in this city. I have sisters. And they are of a gifted nature. And in exchange for helping Nye, we will be dealing with the man in white this way, in a different way than we normally would. And she's going to pull out the pendant. It's meant to track.
Yeah.
She hasn't lied.
It's true, you have not lied. I was there for that. Johnny, what does this pendant look like?
I don't know. OC, what does this pendant look like?
I imagine it's a dark red, and it just looks like a normal, beautiful, ornate, expensive, antique type piece of jewelry. Kind of like a diamond looking, like hanging off like a long, really long, like those really long hang down to almost like your belly button on a normal person chain. And every once in a while it catches the light and it glows for a bit. Someone would say it looks off. who can't attune.
So Nyx leans back in his chair with a smile and he says, "So you say that you work for the Dimmer sisters?" And then he pauses to watch her face. And he says, "And this necklace is meant to only track. What else does it do?"
It is coming. She's not surprised at all. By now, she knows that he knows most things. He will be aware of what it does, but that's the intent. They have a standing rivalry, if you will, and they just want to send their regards.
Forgive me for interfering. These Dimmer sisters, you call them? I've heard them mentioned once or twice. But Would you call this doing a family favor?
I think it benefits both of us. I think if we want more information, sorry, I was reading a message.
I heard some.
God damn it, Mike! Shut the fuck up. It's a favor for me, and it's a favor considering all that Nye has done for our group. She may not be returning, and she may not be herself. But I know that we have enough people on different sides that we need to strengthen the allies that we do have. And the knowledge they possess is unlike any I've ever seen. Oh, excuse me, Nix.
Knowledge. Interesting. So they dabble in knowledge?
Among other things.
I'm sure. But
Let's just say their screams are not from pleasure as they are in my houses.
But they are allies, yeah?
Yes.
Allies to you? Or allies of those you're associated with as well?
As soon as you ask that, like, Nyx just side-eyes Steam and shrugs.
Steam shrugs back.
Let's put it this way. Your bodyguard, who follows you everywhere and does your bidding. Sorry, Steam. I know you're your own person.
No worries.
Your accomplice would not be foolish enough to follow me in there. They're powerful. They know what they're doing. And I think that this man in white has them scared. So if we're to be guests, I think we should use it to our advantage that they are on the same side as us.
I agree. And I think we should make this a priority.
OC is just like indulging in this conversation with him, even though everyone else has already done their research.
OC, is there anything that we can do? Well, specifically.
No. I've already had my training for the day, and she's just gonna side-eye Seam as she has like a little bit of a cut lip and her face is a little bit bruised. I got everything I needed off my chest.
If at any time they wish to talk with us, they're more than welcome.
Oh, they will not speak to you.
No, I'm sure they wouldn't. After all, I'm nobody.
I wouldn't say that, Alderman. She's just gonna sarcastically raise a glass.
That's right, I am going for that title.
So how was your night?
Lovely.
No, before we discuss what happened when Rowan almost killed us, you said a Madeline, and your friends are afraid of the man in white. Who is this Madeline?
Magdalene.
That's what I said.
The woman from your vision. I told the sisters that it was a dream I had. They know I work with you. They're not, they do their research, just as you do. But I try to involve you guys when I need to. These people are... Something is coming. My note had great bearing on that. Nye is no help anymore. And I intend to find out what the next step is.
But who is this Magdalene?
It's on my to-do list.
Do you share any of the information?
I said that before.
You share all information about Magdalene?
Oh, do you?
About that's what
Okay.
Sorry,
Sorry.
I said that 5 minutes ago.
I
I didn't want to reiterate the entire conversation I had with them.
No, but I think that it given the circumstances, I think it's important to raise the point of some of the information that happened there. That Magdalene, the inference was what specifically? Do you remember?
The woman that Nye warned me about was Magdalene. She's a ghost that prefers to possess human nobility. I would have told them all that. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Everything involving
Well,
Magdalene in the vision, I would have said, hey, I said that it was a dream I had because I didn't want to involve you, but the information that I received back was this.
Okay, the only reason I raised that up and just kind of bring it back into context is I'm trying to figure out what I need to fill in for, from a story perspective, because I think that given the meeting that they just had, there would be some reaction.
Yes. She would mention the woman that we're looking for is someone who likes to possess nobility. She is working either in tandem or is in some way related to the man in white. One of the women in this city, one of the noble women in this city, is not who we think they are. And she's going to look at Bowerstone directly.
And he's just going to look at Nyx.
He does.
Nyx looks at you and shrugs.
Do you remember...
Time out. I got to ask you a question real quick. This is incredibly important because this is OC looking at Reymond.
Because he knows the nobility better than we do.
Oh, okay. The reason that wasn't what I was going to ask. What I was going to ask is, are you implying that Reymond is actually a woman? Sorry.
Oh, look at me! I made the funny joke.
Listen, I've already heard about. I've already heard about his what do you call it? Run-ins with my ladies. I'm like, don't want to. No.
Back to the game. Now, if you remembering from last game, there was definitely something shifting. Her gaze was always going out. Her eyes changed at one point.
Who noticed that though?
That is what he said that we would notice.
Yeah, you guys.
Yeah.
That's what I was asking. Did you both notice that?
They both noticed it, and they are familiar with possession because of Nye.
Yeah.
So
at that, Raymond's face is just like.
Do you know who she is?
Sake. This is. I don't know how to put this. If who you're describing is who you're describing, she's currently the only person in the nobility field supporting me at this point for alderman.
You attract all kinds, don't you, Mr. Bowerstone?
At this point, Steen would lean forward and he would say,
What then did she promise you, alderman?
First off, with this new revelation, this does not go back to your sisters. The fact that we know more than they do about someone they're looking for puts us in a position of power. And the fact that we know more than this possessed noblewoman expects we should know puts us in an even greater position of power.
She's going to stand up and kind of brush her jacket off and walk around a little bit more, and looking directly at him. You.
Okay.
While I understand that your life is built on knowledge, it is your trade, it is your lifeblood. That's how you operate. I will keep this within us because some of you are okay. I would associate with some of you outside. No, I wouldn't. But for our purpose, you guys serve me well, and we help each other. But I don't need a man telling me how I will live my life.
Oh, it wasn't a demand. Your sisters don't find out, or I don't deliver your necklace.
So we deal in threats now.
Oh,
we deal in agreements. You ask a favor, I ask one back. I will deliver your necklace. You keep this discreet and between us.
For a time.
Yes.
She's going to sit back down and not say anything.
OC, I need her vote. Once I have it and I'm through with her, as far as I'm concerned, do whatever the hell you want.
You're assuming you have the vote of Lady Rowan.
She gave me her word, and I believe we have it in writing as well. Nix, do we not have
The word of a demon.
Either way, a position is a position. That
she
is the position she is in.
What did she promise you?
She signed all of my paperwork.
And we mean all of it. And I believe she also said she was going to help gain more votes.
In what way?
She knows other nobilities. You have to understand, Steve, I've been out of the game for some time.
Who did she name specifically?
She didn't actually give any names.
She did.
Did she?
Lord Bowmore.
No. Bowmore was...
Right, but she
with
said
the
our
list.
she said our position with Lord Bowmore would increase.
Oh,
her vote.
okay. Well then, yeah, Lord Bowmore, who we're going to be seeing in a week's time.
Which, if our cards are played correctly, that's 2 of the 6.
You are assuming that she is going to give a positive recommendation to Lord Bowmore.
Why not?
Based on everything
She's
we
already
discussed.
signed the signatures.
Well, she tried to kill you, and she is not whom she seems.
When haven't we tried to kill people, Steam? Let's be honest. This is Doskvol.
We don't do it over dinner.
Oh, when I try to kill people, they do not finish dinner.
Some people try to do it subtly more than others.
Those are people I call failures.
Call them what you want, they get the job done in a different way. But OC, is this matter so pressing that I have to lose this vote? Or can we continue this facade of not knowing who she is?
I come here and give you information. I did not say I would go back to my sisters. They do not need to know about this right now. They asked me to do something, and we will do it. That has been agreed upon, correct?
Correct.
She's gonna look around the room.
Nix.
She wants she wants verbal confirmation. Like, this is, are we doing this?
Yeah, he looks to you and says, yes, I will deliver your necklace to the man in white.
Good. And so she's gonna stand up and say, what other business do we have?
There is someone running against me.
Do we know him?
Horace Keel.
Boris Keel. I've done my research and known a few things about him. He's not exactly what you would... he's not what he says he is. But rest assured, I've got this covered. But if he turns into something more hostile than what he is now, of course I could use the help I can get.
She looked over.
Beleaguered amusement.
She looks over it while you're doing that. She's looking over at Steam when he says, I've got this, because every time you've said that, you fucked something up, and Nye and I had to help you, and I don't have Nye anymore. So she looks at Steam like, he's your problem now. Like, she just looks at him like...
Steam leans forward and he says,
If he becomes a problem, he shall not finish dinner.
Our friend Horace Keel is a man in your camp, Steam. He leads with fear. It's, vinegar to honey. We are trying to present our friend Reymond here as the honey to his vinegar. However, he has the Scovlanders riled up. He has the people of Crowsfoot riled up, and he's trying to pin everything on the Scoves, which would be inconvenient, as we're trying to pin it on whoever the hell worked for this Donovan's, a thorn in our side, for quite some time now.
Are they still a problem?
OC, when you mention that, is going to mention what she heard at the brothel about things trying to be pinned on her by a group.
Is this the same group?
I believe so. You make friends when you work in my line of business, and
no doubt.
you kill friends in my line of business. And she's going to look over at Nix. We've had very few issues that had a permanent resolution. This is one of those ongoing issues. It needs to be dealt with, but we'll get to that. I believe that there is, if people are trying to pin it on us, and we're law-abiding citizens just trying to run for government.
Well, as luck would have it, a few documents were recently discovered and made their way into the hand of the Bluecoats that ties the owners of the burnt-down establishment known as Donovan's to the tragic warehouse fire and explosion in Crowsfoot, as well as some of the miscommunications with the language barrier.
Interesting. But just so I've got this right, this is the same group that was a thorn on our side before the gala?
Yes. They had better plans than to attend our gala.
Nix, OC, I trust you both that you will handle this. I don't want them to be popping up too many times, especially with what's going on now. I don't want these, call them what you will, I'm going to call them pathetic weasels, just gnawing at us.
In the most mocking tone ever, Nix tips a faux hat and says, "Yes, my lord, it will be done."
OC is going to explain that she I don't have much going on at the moment. I don't have a lot on my plate. So, of course, anything that you need takes much more precedence over anything that I'm working on.
At this point, Steam leans forward after the tip of the hat and the repartee back, and he says,
"These people have been located. Should you need them, I can point the way."
He works quickly.
You've located them.
I have.
Oh, you've located them. What we could do. What do we do? No, stick to the plan. Sorry, we must stick one plan at a time. As I said, I will leave this to Nix and OC. I won't dabble too much in this.
I think we need to make an appearance in Crowsfoot.
I agree.
If they're raising such hell there, and he's, speaking to these people, trying to get their vote, so should you.
I agree. And since you don't have much going on, how would you like to be a public figure for the campaign as well?
I would not.
You would not?
No.
And why not?
Because she doesn't want to die.
I don't know
Smart
what
man.
political game you're looking at.
If you need someone to be by your side and give you a strong sense of backing for the community, for us lowly whores,
Well, that's what I
I
was
could send someone for you.
That's what I was meaning. You
I'll
have
send someone for
influence. You have influence more than I think you think.
No, I know.
Your girls can pass on information in certain ways. The more that you do that, in Crowsfoot especially, the more that we have.
So out of the public eye is what you're saying.
Oh, yes.
Information
What-
I can do. Public.
I want every single bit of information about everyone.
So, as you guys are having this conversation, and this is happening around the table, Nix, that little thing you messaged me privately about that you're doing in the background isn't going well for you.
Yeah.
Are you keeping trying at it though? Are you
Yeah, he's trying, he's not good at it. He's only done it maybe once or twice. But he's trying to maintain this conversation while side-eyeing and doing that. So he's kind of split focus, but yeah, he keeps attempting.
Side-eyeing
Steam-
for what?
So hold on, Steam. Just for your awareness, you notice that Nix's focus changes a little bit, and it kind of tickles you in a way of awareness. But eventually, at some point, Nix, your efforts are just not going at all, and you're getting even more distracted by it, right? And you're trying incredibly hard, and at some point, there's a slight shift in your perception for a second, and it's in that shift in the perception that you hear a scream coming from upstairs, and at the same time that Nix hears the scream, I believe Steam would also hear it. You guys have ghost. What is it? The crew ghost voice, right?
Yeah.
No, we have ghost echo. Is that what it's called? Something like that.
Yeah.
No, with ghost echo, you can interact with things in the ghost field, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, that's what we have.
Okay, so you don't have the ghost voice one. You don't hear it.
Right.
So there's this scream that comes from the upstairs that attracts your attention, and Steam, when he notices it, you also notice it as well. You've been kind of ignoring because you hear this kind of stuff happen all the time, but there is screaming coming from somewhere upstairs.
Steam, do you move? Do you make any kind of movement that you noticed it?
Steam disappears.
Yeah, it's a visual cue. So if you're standing in sight of everybody and you disappear, you just hear Nix say, "Upstairs, third door on the left."
OC is going to stand up, take her jacket off, and take out her sword. She's been training. She just came from training.
OC, sit down.
I don't take orders from you.
She
just stands behind the sofa and waits.
This is my house. What do you mean? Third door on the left, upstairs, Nix.
What's in the room?
I want you out.
What
I want you out of my house.
In Ghost?
Get out
in
of my
room?
house.
What's in the room?
Don't come into my house and do this. I want you out.
Okay,
It's a
so
simple question.
Steam, what are you doing?
I haven't left the room.
Okay.
He's just
Keep going.
fucking with us. Sometimes, Speedy. Not all the time, though. We're not in the dungeon. Yeah, OC's just in a defensive stance because she's on neutral ground because we're part of a group, but she's not in the Veil or something where she's, so she's just standing there with her sword out. She's not doing anything.
So just super nonchalant, Nix just reaches into his whatever he has, I assume a satchel, and he begins pulling out duplicates of the documents he brought to Lady Rowan's house and laying them out as if he doesn't listen to what Bowerstone says. And he starts going over things, and he says, well, first of all, there's something upstairs that I have attuned to accidentally, it occurs to me, as I can't attune to that for some reason, but something is screaming on your second floor. However, with the fact that we now have a noble ghost inside Lady Rowan, the fact that we have a new ally, which is why I don't want your sisters to know, she has signed all of our paperwork, fully endorsing Lord Bowerstone, to include the assembly of what I've decided to call the Stone Cloaks, which is a private military organization dedicated to the protection and whim of Mr. Bowerstone. Now I will kindly ask you again before we give you the power to create a small army, what is on the second floor?
You don't get to ask questions like that.
Steam reappears.
Mr.
And
Bowerstone,
he's going to turn around and he's actually going to grab Steam's collar. Look him dead
He
in
can
the-
certainly try.
in there.
Wait a minute. Are you reaching for him?
Yes, for his collar.
Okay, you passes through nothing.
And then they.
Calm down, Alderman.
What did you see?
I did not leave the room. Calm down, Alderman.
What screams?
I heard them too. Whatever you have on the second floor, Alderman, it's not happy. It's in pain.
It's dead.
You know as well as I do that the dead do not die in Doskvol. It is simply a transition.
Mr.
And-
Bowerstone,
This is not for us to decide.
Let them rest. Let them be.
Steam, you would be able to hear more commotion going on, having all the focus and time and experience that you've had. They never rest. This is always going on. Now that you start to focus in on the peripheral background noise of it, it's constant.
2 voices.
Can OC hear anything now that she's listening for it?
A man and a woman.
I'll type it to you.
I got it now.
OC, are you attuning, or what ability are you using to hear this?
I was just wondering if she could hear it. If
No.
not, it's a no. Okay, so
No,
she's
no,
just
no. No,
she
it's
understands
an
what's going on, obviously, but she's like, okay, well,
Right.
Mr. Bowerstone, we come to your house. We will respect your rules, but if we're going to be at your beck and call for you to go on some grand adventure to become alderman, we need to work as a team. What's on the second floor?
At this point, Steam will put his hand on Reymond's shoulder.
I don't see what my past has to do with...
It's not.
He turns back to the other 2.
This is his. Let it be.
Nick stands to face the 2 of you and he says, "Your past has everything to do with you being an alderman. The reason why, and OC, please don't take offense, the leader of several brothels or whorehouses, as the nobility might see them, would not be a good running candidate. The same reason how easy it was for either of us to figure out that you are harboring ghosts in your house is all too easy for your competition to find, who rules by fear-mongering. If you hide secrets and lies such as these, it makes it that much harder for me, Steam, and OC to cover up. Now, what is on the second floor?"
Steam turns to Nyx.
Do you truly believe that the other nobility do not harbor such secrets?
I absolutely believe they do, but they harbor them quietly, and they don't run for office.
He does not invite anyone into this home.
Can you get in places where you're not invited?
Yes.
Exactly my point. How many places have I been where I haven't been invited? How many people have I charmed to be invited into places, and how easy was it for me to accidentally
Word of our
find out
community's
what
acclaim
is on the second floor?
spreads.
There is a visual fear in Reymond. It's almost crushing him. His eyes and mind just replaying something over and over. He looks into a void. Is it really true that I must show you?
No, I don't care what you have in there. Just tell me what it is. I don't want to see what I assume to be corpses. If there's something hidden there, I need to know the extent of it, so that we can come up with a continuing plan, in case someone else finds this.
While you're talking, OC is sheathing her weapon, pouring a drink, and bringing it to Bowerstone, and will sit on the table in front of him.
So he's going to take that and down it, and just... It's not a secret, but it's forgotten in the past. If you must just... And he reaches into a satchel of his, like, with his utility, but he takes it out, and there's this old key, dried blood on it, and he just throws it to Nyx, and he looks him dead in the eye. You go in there, you see it, you lock it back up, and you make no mention of it
Word
ever
of our
again.
community's acclaim spreads.
Nick picks the key up and meets her gaze and says, "If this is public, will this ruin you?"
In the state it's in, maybe. For what happened, no.
He throws the key back to you.
I have a question for for Reymond here. Was he aware that, given the state of, I know what's in there. I had you messaged it to me, and there's a bit of a brief exchange that we've done about what's going on inside of that room. Are you aware that there is spectral activity there? Is Reymond aware?
He's not aware of that. So the fact that there are screams, this is frightening to him. He likes being under the illusion that they're gone, that they're resting. Full well knowing in logic that is not true, but in his mind, they're resting. He can't hear them, he can't see them. He likes knowing that they're resting.
Okay.
Fucking oath. You are the absolute.
Yes, that's exactly what happened. I call that canon. Thank you.
Yep.
It's even more awkward because I sent it to Steam, just Steam, in a message back. So I was like, God damn it, that's awkward. I had to send it to everybody.
So Nix asks his question, and he throws the key back to you, and he says, again, like not breaking eye contact, and he says, "Doors and keys, Reymond, and I recommend you keep that one locked up and hidden as best as possible."
He just takes the key and puts it back in and basically pours himself another drink and downs that.
Now then, secrets revealed aplenty. I used to run a crime syndicate. Good, we're even? Okay. Anyway,
None of us are surprised.
Well, of course, I would assume the less. My parents are also dead. Good. Stone cloaks. We have the authority, if we become aldermen, and the backing of one of the Council of Six to establish the Stone Cloaks, which is essentially a new army of bluecoats that we control inside of Crowsfoot. I also propose we bring our old allies under our sway. The Sashes, the Lampblacks, and the Crows.
I'm sorry, what?
No, you're not sorry yet. You will be.
You want to get them back to us?
Yes. Now, if I blew up your leader, would you not rally and try to reform?
I'm pretty sure you're my leader, so if you blew yourself up...
We have some questions. The point is, would you not rally? Bring your forces back together? Pull back to the tower in Crowsfoot? Pull back to the Aruvian school?
I can imagine them being quite angry.
Yes, and quite weak, and without leadership or guidance. That is where we step in.
They are looking for strength.
You lead in the public eye, we lead the rest of them. Who better to form your stone cloaks?
Who better to rally the red sashes than one of their own? And she'll slowly pull the sash with an emblem out of her coat jacket and put it back in.
He, Nick side-eyes you and says, "That's new."
That's bloody new.
It's not bloody yet.
Yeah, I get it enough from him, Steam, for fuck's sake.
You're also cryptic. I thought I'd join in.
Yeah, but I don't think you need doors or keys.
I don't.
So the question is, how do we bring these other factions under our sway in a way that they still feel powerful?
Well, what is the rumor going around about what happened there? Who is the blame being put on?
She
No one.
already...
No one?
As of right now, I just put the blame on the people that work at Donovan's. Conveniently, Donovan's has been burnt to the ground.
Conveniently, we know their whereabouts as well.
This is true.
You want to rally them against the people at Donovan's?
No, I don't care about them. Small fish, big sea. We need to rally the people of Crowsfoot to you. We need to rally the factions of Crowsfoot to us, in that they now work secretly for you.
Us.
There will be no war in Crowsfoot, because we will establish the peace, a set of guidelines. What those guidelines are, we should discuss. Every one of the crews pays tithe to you, and supports you with X amount of troops to form your Stonecloaks.
With the acceptance of pronunciation, he is suggesting a city within a city, Alderman, with you as the ruler.
I think
Your own
you
army.
don't understand. We all have an equal part in this. I think it's no surprise that if I was left to my own devices to do this, I'd be fucked.
No, I believe we understand perfectly.
Reymond, you're never left to anything of your own. But
Good.
we can't
So let's get it clearly. We all have an equal share in this.
Right, but what you miss is that we can't
your
have
face.
an invisible assassin run for government. We can't have, as I said previously, the leader of several brothels run for government. And we can't have whatever the hell I am in the city run for government. You...
That is why that is my key.
Yes.
That is what I do.
Perfect.
I'm more of a public figure than, let's say, the brains of the
In the
operation.
background, we manage the seedy underbelly of Crowsfoot.
So I can let you guys
You put
handle
on your
that.
white gloves and be presentable. Maintain the thin veneer, and we'll do the rest.
And when the time comes, you can put your mask back on.
Steam. That mask is not coming back on.
So you say.
What do you... The mask is gone. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Leave that to us.
All of us.
Well, in a week's time, I am meeting with this Lord Bowmore. Forgive me for asking if you do not wish to attend, but OC and Steam, I think I would like you there. Especially OC, since with Lady Rowan and what she is, and this being one of her allies, this could be beneficial to you to get to know one of her allies, if it were.
I would like to attend as well, but not for the reasons you've suggested.
No, I will get you the... You can come for dinner as well.
He doesn't
But will
eat
you
poison.
be... But will you be guarding or attending?
Yes.
You do know the rules on the Vale grounds?
I will abide as long as everyone else does.
So as it currently stands, we have the competition in Horus Keel. Leads by fear, is rallying the people against the Scotlanders. This besieged Scotlanders could be an ally, could be an enemy, could be nothing. We know that a ghost named Magdalene of some power. Is she the one your Nye spoke about?
You're talking about Magdalene?
Yeah.
Yes.
Some 500-year-old ghost of some renown has taken over the powers and body of Lady Rowan, of House Rowan, one of the Council of Six. We now have an inn with a second member of the Council of Six, as well as the backing of Lady Rowan, despite whatever means she has planned for whatever her eventuality of the city is. We also have new friends and allies in the Imperial Army. Yes, I have been busy. They also like Reymond Bowerstone for Alderman. There have been pamphlets created and handed out among the young soldiers and grunts of the Imperial Army, and they are spreading your name and your deeds throughout their ranks. We own an establishment in Crowsfoot, and we have been given passage through the blockade. We can easily move between the cities.
We own an establishment.
Yes, it is called, let me check my notes.
lips.
What did the poll say?
Do you think?
Hangman's Gallow or something like that?
Do you think it's time, Cloven Hoof something? No.
Cloven? Hoof?
Gallows Respite.
Oh, that was the other one. Sorry. Do you think it's time for the future alderman to make an appearance in Crowsfoot publicly?
I do. I do have a question though. Steam, how do you feel about killing him?
Tell me when.
Perfect.
Now.
Campaign over. I wins. As your shock sets in, he looks to you and says, "Well, you now have enemies. You have competition. You have a platform of peace and things that people won't like. You go against the grain, and someone killing you live just further solidifies that you are, in fact, a threat."
You want to fake an assassination attempt?
I mean, I'm sure Steam could actually kill you, but I think you want to fake an assassination attempt.
Yeah. No? What? You want...
You stand there and forget everything you just heard. The surprise it'll be better, genuine, I think.
You guys are having too much fun. You're having way too much fun. Just make sure it's a dull blade so that you don't slip.
It'd be clean through and through.
I never slip.
If you kill me...
For the first time, Reymond, you see Steam slightly smile. Slightly.
He's gonna smirk back at him. Okay. Let's set this up. Maybe... Is this a new establishment? Is this one we've taken over?
The Gallows Respite is one we've taken over.
Okay, well, how about another reopening of it?
Yeah.
Under new management.
Sure.
What a way to host it there.
I can have some of my girls work there. I trust them.
Lovely.
Maybe some of my Rook network within my establishment.
Just so you know, Chad is calling for me to actually kill you.
It's been pretty nice watching. Actually.
Whoa! What the hell? What is this?
Yeah.
You've got some enemies.
It's
apparently.
mostly just Sling. Sling's just Team God over here. Everyone else can die.
Look at that! I have fans.
We are hiring. We're looking for goats as well.
She was trying to get
we actually
hired.
have several goats.
We're about to have a white one. We could try.
So, with the comedy, is this meeting at an end?
I mean, I think so, unless anyone has any more questions.
Close, but when everyone leaves, Raymond's going to go back to his living quarters and actually call for Steam. I don't know how far his hearing goes.
He appears.
What did you exactly hear? One voice, two voices, a child?
They're all screaming. They're all in pain.
Bullshit, no. That's not true.
I have no reason to lie to you, Reymond.
I've been assured that this was a special case that they actually left.
Reymond, they are in pain. I would not have heard them if they weren't.
It's not. It's all right. You can leave now. It's fine. No, it's. I've had people tell me it's fine. It's.
He again, if Reymond will allow it, he places his hand on Reymond's shoulder and draws his gaze back to Steam's.
They are in pain. I have no reason to lie to you, Reymond. If you want to keep them, if they are special to you, in this state, they are in pain.
What did you do for Nai? You were able to do something to talk to her in her state.
I am not.
Can you make me hear them?
This is beyond me. It is beyond me. Listen, your friend, Nyx, he has been interested in a book. A certain book talks about certain things. You will know them as halls.
A book.
There are other ways to keep the spirits close. Ways that will not be... They will not be in this much pain.
I heard the screams every night when I went to bed, but I was assured that it was in my head.
They are still screaming. You just cannot hear them.
Forgive me. We'll deal with this with another. We have more pressing matters. Thank you, Steve.
Enjoy your stay.
Did you go into the room?
I did not.
Then I thank you for respecting my privacy.
If you need my help, Alderman, I stand ready. And he vanishes.
Scene.
So as each of you were stepping out and leaving before Steam gets called back by Reymond, you see something very troubling, Steam, as it appears that in the ghost field, Nyx has a shadow. And it's not strong, it's not... But there's something that's attached itself to him. But you're not quite... I'm sorry, what?
Is it a track or a trace?
No. It's not something, it's not a trick. It's not an element of some sort of, technique or tool. This is, you're not sure quite what it is, in fact, but it's something that is just sort of not mimicking him, but just kind of attached to him in some way as like a shadow on the ground. But it's only visible in the ghost field.
Not here. This is the first time I've seen it. It wasn't here
This
before.
is the first time you've seen it.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll cut, and I guess we're building towards the meeting with Lord Bowmore.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys want to do any specific research or any preparation in particular for going to this particular meeting at the Vale, which is going to be, I guess, leads to essentially your score?
Yeah. I mean, the usual finding out information on them, as always, but this time we can't exactly prepare on location because we don't own this location and it's in neutral territory. So I'm going to, for myself, going to be doing some research.
Okay.
More so his relationship with the Bowerstone family back in the day.
So you don't... I can tell you just from generally that your families, while they knew each other socially in the circumstances, they wouldn't have been had a close relationship like the Rowan family had with...
Okay, so nothing special.
Bowerstones.
Yeah.
There was no each of the noble families had some relationship of some kind, but this wasn't there wasn't a clear connection between the two of you, your two families, versus what was said at or what was essentially established between the Rowan family and the Bowerstone family. So. Okay, so what else do you want to find out, though? I mean, they have a bridge named after them. It's the bridge between Brightstone and Bright. What is it? God damn it! Here I go, screwing this up again.
Mike, you muted?
What?
It's all good now. It's all good now.
Are you sure? It's the bridge between Brightstone and White. It's the bridge between Whitestone and White Crown, or sorry, Brightstone and White Crown, right? So they're a family they're one of the oldest families. Their estate is still in Six Towers, but Lord Balmore himself, you would come to find out, is actually not just Lord Balmore. He is Commander Balmore of the Brightstone Bluecoats. So he is a high-ranking member in the City Watch, along with being a part of the Council of Six. He definitely is a very public figure, very boisterous figure, somebody who spends a great deal of time enacting a lot of the decisions of the Council of Six. He believes what he's doing, and he spends a lot of time. At least that's his public face. That's what as a public figure, it's perceived. He's perceived as.
So do they reside in their estate in Six Towers, or do they reside, I assume, in Brightstone?
The Balmore estate is still occupied, but Lord Balmore actually does not reside there. He actually lives in Brightstone at a separate, essentially residence, because he wants to be in, the same location where he is responsible for as a commander of the Bluecoats.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna gather information during this downtime.
Okay.
In fact, I'm going to utilize my friend Jaren to put me in contact, I think, with other, disenfranchised Bluecoats that may reside or work in what is it, Brightstone? I basically want to know what kind of ship this Bowmore runs. Is he militant? Is he, like a hardcore? How does he run his troops? Does he treat them as troops? Does he treat them as men? Does he see them as equals? How is he at work? What does he strive for at work? What are his goals in Brightstone? Does he want it to be a shining example of Doskvol? How does he react to the crime that happens in Brightstone? Is it known that Bluecoats are on the payroll kind of deal?
Okay, so what type of interaction is this going to? How is this going to? I mean, is this like a bribe? So are you essentially swaying him? I mean, what are you using to essentially? What action are you using to?
So I'll use bribery. So I'll talk to Jaren, and Jaren is going to be the intermediary to get me in contact with the people of Brightstone, because I really have no reason to be there, and especially talking to Bluecoats. So Jaren is my in. He'll make the meeting, and I just want to talk, like I said, disenfranchised guys, and I'll give them some coin. They get paid on a cop salary, not great money.
Okay.
So he'll do that. So it'll be kind of like a consort role. I'm just trying to discuss and see what's out there. Hey, I'm so and so. I have an interest in such and such. How does things work in the Brightstone Bluecoats?
So if you're gonna do a consort role, then definitely this is. Okay. So let's go ahead and start with that.
Cool.
Position is going to be risky in my head, and here's why. While you do have an in for, you do have an in with the Bluecoats, and this, I believe, the Bluecoat, he's specifically in Six Towers, right?
Yes.
Okay. Each district is generally responsible for their own Bluecoats, so their interactions, and the disposition and the type of activity that they get involved in is very different. So he can make the introductions, and you can start to have the conversation, but there is some sort of element of risk of a Bluecoat from Six Towers is asking, for there to be an exchange of hands and money and bribery, with Bluecoats from another district. It'll look a little bit off if somebody isn't into it. So I think the position is definitely risky.
Okay.
I could see an argument for desperate because it is Brightstone, and there's a real element of risk. There's a real, element of there's a real possibility of backlash.
Yeah, I can see a desperate.
So it's basically up to you what position that you want to take in this.
Yeah, we'll go desperate. It makes the most sense to me.
Okay.
Can I assist? Because I'm going to ask, my action during all of this was going to be to ask around the brothels if he's ever been in one, or if the soldiers ever talk about what type of a person he is, or not soldiers, the bluecoats. Kind of knowledge gathering. So can I assist in that regard?
Absolutely. Let's get to effect, and then we'll take you'll take a stress, and then we'll have an additional die at the end for that. So with effect, this is really about the scope of information that you want. It sounds like what you're looking for is to get a real representation all around of the character of the man.
Yeah.
Are you reaching for the deep dark, what's behind the facade, if there is a facade kind of a thing?
Yes.
Okay. So then I would think that the effect is also going to be great. So this is one of those desperate great combos.
Okay.
And then there's the assist from OC, basically having her girls ask specifically from the Bluecoats as well from the Brightstone district.
Okay.
Johnny, can I set him up for this to assist with the effect level?
How do you want to set him up?
Steam's contact is Petra, a city clerk.
Okay.
And if she is aware of the normal business dealings, papers filed, documents, any type of licenses that he would require, if she could create a hiccup in one of the normal operations of the Lord to see how he would react to that, and maybe give Nyx an opening for his information gathering, kind of for a brief second, kind of, show the underbelly just for a second. And if that was coordinated with OC and with Nyx's information gathering, it might help with effect. He would learn a little bit more.
Is there a particular thing that you have in mind that you would want to use as the disruptive event, or the disruptive poke at him?
Whatever is his normal business dealings. Like each of the noble houses have some type of business dealing that they do.
Absolutely.
If she could create a paper hiccup in something that would pause normal business dealings for a 12-hour, 24-hour period, that would cause him to actually maybe take notice and go on site, or divert his current schedule, that would just disrupt him somehow, just kind of get him off step, make him stumble a bit, and Nyx could pounce on it.
Okay. All right. So why don't we go ahead and determine that role first, and then see how that affects this particular role? Because unless you want to call it an assist, but then it may not have as great an effect as you're hoping for.
If OC is going to assist, I can't assist as well, right? So I'd prefer to do setup for.
Well, what we've done in the past is we've allowed multiple people to assist. So I'm not gonna. I mean, we haven't strictly gone and said that that's we're gonna follow by the rule, by the book rule kind of a thing. So I'm leaving it up to you at this point. At some point, I think it's a good idea that we facilitate that particular rule. But at this point, previously we have said, it's possible for multiple people to assist. So,
what do you guys think? Nyx, what do you want, an assist or a setup?
So, what's the ultimate outcome of the setup? How does that?
It'll raise your effect level by 1 and improve the position.
So in this particular case, he's already got a great effect.
Yeah.
However, it will improve your position from desperate to risky.
Okay.
Unless you want to go desperate and you want me to just give you an assist, I'll take the stress for it.
Yeah, I think the assist might be better in that, an extra die to see if I can roll. Like, I'm fine with the desperate. We've done those before. And the effect, if the effect was standard going to great, that would definitely sway me. But it's already great. So yeah, I think the +1 dice would be more beneficial.
I'll take the stress, though. Yep.
I also have Weaving the Web. When I use Consort, I get +1d for that. That also gives us +1 for the engagement roll when we actually do the That's all I got, I think.
Okay, so that sounds like it's an additional 3 die at the end of this roll.
Yeah, so it says, so it expressly says for any downtime activity. So here's a ruling question that I'm confused about.
Okay.
So it says during downtime you can still go to places, do things, make action rolls, gather information. And then on the later paragraph it says for any downtime activity take +1d to a roll if a friend or contact helps you. Does that count for this? Because Jaren is my shrewd friend.
I would assume the answer is yes. Just the wording on that,
That's
though,
why I ask.
is really confusing.
Yeah.
Because previously, one of the things that's interesting about the current list of downtime actions that you can take, I bring this up because it says downtime, right? Not because it says free play, but it says downtime. You used to be able to gather information in downtime. It was a completely separate downtime action.
Yeah.
And the reason that, as far as I can tell, that it was moved out of downtime into free play was because it really made sense more because story could be driven in a very significant way in free play where, and so a modification of it as a downtime activity, it seems because it says it seems to limit to that. That's where the confusion is for me.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that that's why I'm going to say that I think it applies, and I think that we, moving forward, it should apply. I'm just suggesting that that the text of the book is confusing, and that we're going to just call this a table, a table rule or a table decision kind of thing. So I agree with that. So that means that you get an additional die as well for that.
Yeah. So that gives me 4 die, and let me just double check where my stress lies.
Okay.
Yeah. Nope. Not doing that. So 4 die. 5s.
Wow. That is a lot of 5s.
That is a lot of 5s.
That is a lack of 6s and a lack of a crit. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so based on your information gathering, you get, for the most part, his facade is actually who he is. I mean, he is an incredibly well-respected commander. He is the kind of person who gets on the front lines with his guys and does the dirty work, does the things that need to get done in order to enforce the law inside of Brightstone. In fact, when the tower fell and there was a set of circumstances where there was a little bit of chaos prior to the Imperial Army kind of moving in and martial law being declared, Brightstone actually led a couple of groups into some other districts in order to help. So this guy is essentially, his facade is at least a Boy Scout. There are a couple of things that you get that throw you off a little bit in respect to this facade, in that it appears that, on occasion, he disappears from the public eye for a day or two at a time. And the growing assumption is among his men is that it's when he's indulging his vice, when he's just enjoying his pleasure, when he's doing his thing, which also seems a little off because he is often seen at the Vale on his off time, spending time in their different pleasure areas, in the different services of pleasure that the Vale offers. So there's something else going on. For the most part, the sentiment of the people that you talk to that are his men, and that OC hears from his girls, or from her girls, about Bowermore, is that there's not, he is an incredibly well-liked, well-respected person. There is, however, one lone voice in that one of the last times that he was at the Vale, this particular blue coat encountered him, and it was an unpleasant affair. And that person has talked repeatedly about, while he can't say exactly what happened, that he walked away incredibly his pride was injured, and that his circumstances changed after he accidentally met Balmor in the Vale, and subsequently found himself on the wrong end of some of his indulgences. And this particular person had to retire from the Bluecoats and is now living off of a pension inside of Crowsfoot because of his injuries.
What's his name?
Baylor.
Cool. And he was a Bluecoat.
Baylor Smith. He is an ex-Bluecoat.
Okay.
He is a Bluecoat who was pulling a pension and was somebody who had worked for Balmor inside of Brightstone.
Okay. And
I said Smith, not Taylor Swift. Dummy.
And he... So you said there was a discrepancy when he stumbled in on him indulging his vice or something like that?
The circumstances he was paid, you assume, based on everything that you were told, is that he was paid not to say a word, but that he suffered injuries from that circumstance, from his encounter at the Vale.
Okay. Okay, cool. That's it for me.
Any other information gathering you want to do?
I'll don't know if I can keep going back and trying to find blackmail on people.
Just did.
Even more.
You can try to.
I mean, I don't know how more extensively. I mean, I could try and get more.
But so are you going? Well, are you looking for blackmail material on who though? All right, because you've got
Lord Bowman.
Okay.
Same man.
I'm gonna say that based on what the amount of effort that Nick's put into and the way that his role went and the amount of time that both OC and amount of time that OC and Steam put into it, you're not gonna find you're gonna get the general indication that this guy is pretty squeaky clean, other than the fact that he disappears for a couple days.
But other than that, Baylor and Bowmore are never ever getting back together.
God damn it.
That's not from me, by the way.
Yeah.
Look who it was.
It's exactly what I thought it was going to be from. OC can't look into like the person that he was with when he was at the Vale, right? Ask the girls, like, do you know who he was with, and she can inquire.
That so you know for a fact that at the Vale, nobody talks about it. It's a very hush hush affair.
Okay.
The only person that you probably could have asked is no longer in Doskvol.
Yeah. Okay. That's fine. I was just curious. Yeah.
Okay.
You know what? Nick's is gonna pop over just real quick to the blockade and speak to what was his name? Harris Stillman. He's gonna speak to Harris Stillman, his guard friend, and just politely ask that if he sees Baylor Smith, that he lets him know where he can be found.
Okay.
There's a blue. Give him a description. There's a blue coat, living on a pension here in Crowsfoot. If you see him, I'm looking for him.
Okay. He acknowledges, says, "Hope the campaign's going well for the alderman.
It's going exceedingly well, my boy.
Hope to hear from you soon."
You will. You will.
Okay. And with that, are you guys ready for the engagement roll?
I believe so.
I'm never ready, but
Already.
it must proceed.
Oh. We went two different routes with that. Yep.
Okay. Were you gonna say something else?
Sassy comment, nothing important.
All right.
I believe
So-
they're always important.
I believe they're always important too. Okay, guys. So this is a social engagement. How your point of entry is already your social connection is already established. This is an agreed upon meeting between Reymond Bowerstone and Lord Balmor, also known as Captain Balmor. So we can dispense with that. I'm gonna typically, when I ask this question, I've always heard, well, it's the same loadout every time. But since Steam decided to mention earlier that he was going to talk about, or he was getting his loadout together, please, Steam, talk to me about your loadout.
Okay, so we can't take any weapons inside the veil, correct? Isn't that how it works?
Well, so you can have weapons in there, but no business can be conducted. Remember, this is neutral ground.
You can't kill him with
So it's very much.
Well, while he's frozen, it's very much
yeah, your face was frozen.
Yeah, you were frozen for a second. It's very much the hotel from John Wick.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I can take stuff in.
Absolutely.
I just can't. Okay. So my loadout consists of my fine shadow cloak, my silence potion, my dark sight goggles, my spirit bane charm, and a blade or two, and some lockpicks.
You're having way too much fun with this.
It's my first loadout, guys.
Okay.
I remember my first load too.
You know what? This is almost as fun as that one.
Speaking of loads, OC is
this one's
were you gonna comment? Yeah.
OC is going to have a dress specifically made for this occasion that looks like it's backless, but on the back, the sheer part, or the back part of it, it's not backless. Sorry, I just remembered something. I can't do that. It has it looks like flashes of light on it, like lightning engraved into it. It's just a nod at Steam to be a dick. But she's gonna have a cane sword, fine clothes and jewelry, and trance powder, just in case. For a special occasion.
Okay. Mr. Bowerstone, do you have anything special that you were taking?
No, I mean, just for RP purposes, though, the suits that he wears to his meetings, they're all the same color grey that eventually his stone cloaks are going to be wearing. But other than that, I'm just going with the same loadout.
So, not to start a bunch of terrible jokes about 50 Shades of Grey, but I'd like you to at least talk to me about the is it a dark gray? Is it a light gray? I mean, what are you guys trying to represent? Because blue coats is very much, when people think of color, the color of blue, there's a variety of it, but usually when they think of a blue coat, it's almost like a royal blue kind of a situation, or a very dark, deep blue. What are you trying to communicate with the color of the gray? Because
with it,
nobody's talked about this yet.
The way that I think of it is you've got white, which is very outstanding in the public eye. You've got black, which is very dark, kept in the shadows. Bring it together, you've got grey, so it's somewhere in the neutral area, representing both the public eye, but also secretly what the Shroud is.
Okay.
OC looks fantastic in grey.
We're going to go with shade number 25 of that 50 shades.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, OC sees it as like a moral symbolism.
Sure, why not? That as well.
All right. I'm sorry I even asked. Nick.
Should be.
Also, we have a dungeon. Two.
Hey, if I remember correctly, there are multiple dungeons involved. But hey, And I agree with Sling in chat. You're going to get called on by the fashion police. Anyways, next.
He has his usual.
What's your look? Okay, that's all I need to know. All right, guys. So let's talk about this from an engagement roll. It's one die immediately for sheer dumb luck. Another die immediately coming from the meeting with Lady Rowan, how she was going to help set you up. Another die comes from the crit roll that happened that originally set all of this up, right? Because there was the roll that you did in engaging Lady Rowan that subsequently led to it also being a connection with Lord Balmore. Mm-hmm. So that's 3 so far. Anybody else?
One from my ability, Weaving the Web.
That's correct. So we're adding a 4th. Is there anything else?
I completed the long project with my last downtime.
That's which long project?
That was getting the meeting arrangement done, and after Lady Rowan, we completed it, which led to the Bowmore, assisting with Bowmore.
That's correct. So that's 5. Is there anything else that works in your favor, guys?
Would Nyx's information gathering on Bowmore specifically aid to the setup of this meeting?
Well, that already comes into play with him running that action as a part of the investigation. That's how that benefit actually works. Is it's because he spent so much time doing it with that ability. It gives you that immediate mechanical effect of that additional die.
Gotcha. Okay.
I don't suppose that being on the Vale, being on a neutral ground, adds in any way, shape, or form.
Or me having girls there.
Oh yeah, we've got the benefit of that.
So no, the benefit, none of those are actually going to be a benefit, and actually Slade, it being neutral ground is actually going to be a negative.
Okay.
And it will not be immediately obvious, but it will come into play in the score. But it is a negative. So, but I'm not removing that yet because we're still talking about advantages here.
Nyx. No, sorry, Steam. I'm going to need you to hold my hand halfway through this, I think.
Right. I was going to say this too. They don't know about me. Does my appearance or my inclusion, would that negate some of the home field advantage or neutral ground advantage?
What do you mean by that specifically?
They've never seen me.
Who's never seen you?
Bowmore or anybody that would be planning again. They technically never seen OC either.
I'm going to sit at the bar.
Yeah, I was going to say, if we are not technically with him, they wouldn't know that we are with him. So we would be able to provide sort of reinforcements or whatnot that they would not be expecting.
We don't dabble in the affairs of mortals.
Are you? Well, hold on a second.
I fucking love that.
So you're, and I want to be clear about this. I want to understand the intent of the die that you're asking for. Are you saying that you are prepared to commit to action in a place that is considered neutral ground?
Yes.
I'm not saying that.
You get it. You totally get that. You totally get that because you answered yes to that question. Because you know the inherent amount of risk that actually means.
Yeah.
I don't know how frequent Steam would visit the Vale, but there's an absolute sheer fucking serious scariness to that. And you know that for an effect.
Absolutely. Right. But once again, the caveat to that was when we first talked about it was, you said an action at the Vale. I would like to rephrase that as a reaction at the Vale. He's not going to attack, but if there's something comes up, he will draw blades and go for it.
Right, but so even your reaction is still an action.
Okay,
it's a commitment, right? So That's all I needed. That's all I needed to know. Okay, excellent. Excellent. Now, that sounds like it's 6. You're going to lose 1 immediately for it being neutral ground. That's separate from the Steam's intent, and essentially Steam and OC being very capable of taking action if necessary. Now, you did all your research on Bowmore, but you don't really know anything else about what you're coming into. So it's not really a disadvantage, but it's not really an advantage. I'm just highlighting that as a situation you're not very clear about. You also did not do any research into Bowmore's family history and his actions on the actual council. You focused on his relationship with, again, not removing it, but I'm highlighting it as a point right now. I've got one other thing I want to bring up. Does anybody else have any disadvantages, though, that they think apply here? It's perfectly appropriate answer to say no.
None of her enemies are people looking for her here, so I don't think OC does.
What's that?
The Vale? Oh.
Okay.
Holy hell. Oh, apparently you're muted again.
No, fuck me. We're on our turf. Was the thing I muted for? We're on our turf, so we get extra plus D, and we get extra downtime for completing a mission on our own turf.
Extra.
Okay.
Extra D.
So
Every time.
So you're back to 6 on that in that respect. Okay. So you the fact that it's neutral territory went from 7 to 6. Is there any other disadvantage that you guys can see before I add one more to it?
We don't have any enemies in
If
the
we had
immediate
heat,
area.
maybe.
Yeah, I mean our heat's okay.
Wanted, I meant. If we were wanted or something, I could see it, but not.
I mean, you retconned the issue we had with the Veil. We don't have any other enemies here. We had all of our meetings in the Veil so far have been positive. There was that one time that OC stole some vials of Ghost off the shelf.
Yeah, that's not gonna play into this particular
Alright, cool.
circumstance.
And that's all I got.
Goodness.
What? What are you talking about?
You don't remember that?
No, I do. No,
Ghost
I do.
Sure.
I totally remember. I just meant maybe don't mention that while we're about to go in there. No, yeah, I think that's it. I honestly can't think of anything else.
All right. The one additional one is, there's only 2 of the 4 in God Squad. I'm just joking. I just had to bring that up because it was funny for Sling.
Wow.
All right. So
I gotta watch American Gods, man. God damn.
Slade, since this is really Monsieur Bowerstone's engagement or score, I'm going to have you go ahead and roll that again. So why don't you go ahead and click on your character sheet on the fortune roll?
Yep.
And then drop in 6 die.
Yeah, because it's, leave it up to me to fuck it up.
That's
You're
basically
not
what I'm
planting
doing.
bombs. You'll be fine.
You got this, man.
Are you sure?
You ready?
Are you sure there's not a bomb planted at the Veil?
We didn't.
Neutral territory. All right. So you got a 5. That's
Yep.
actually a really good starting point. Okay.
It's not a crit, though. It's not a crit.
So I have one question.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to ask each of you if you are not included in a yes in this question. I'm going to ask you an additional thing. Are you all together when you enter the Veil?
No.
I like to think we stroll in before them to kind of like check it out, like, dressed up very like we were going out for drinks or something, and just head straight to the bar and, you
Okay,
could
so
say whatever, Steve.
but are Steam and OC together?
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
we're coming in. No, let's come in separate.
Okay.
I want to see if they stop us or they restrict us from a specific area, or if something's out of the ordinary. If there's any type of restrictions to the normal flow of patron traffic, just general observation from normal Veil activities.
He can go in first then, because OC is probably allowed in more places than you are. Just
And-
being able to go see the girls and whatever, if she
Right.
had to.
And then what we'll do is I'll go down and sit at the bar whenever I'm done my perusal. And if you want to come down and sit beside me, maybe a seat down or something like that, and we will begin playful banter, because Steam is so good at that.
Okay, so Steam, you enter first, and the Veil is, it's deceptively large. On the outside, it seems to have like basically a smaller storefront, but when you get inside, you realize that the scale of it is that it expands a couple of storefronts and that kind of a thing. So when you step into the larger common area, which is where everybody pretty much enters after they come through essentially the entry hall, it's a pretty much a large common kind of sort of crazy kind of a circumstance where there's the bar off to the side, and there's an area that looks like a little bit of a restaurant, where they're serving folks, and then there's couches and very much a lounge setting in the center. And this is really, from here you can go off to the upstairs or into the back rooms, and do your thing. Reymond, when we did the just for reference, when we did the retcon circumstance, remember that you guys went behind the bar and upstairs to the office area, just for reference purposes, if that comes up or is important to you. So as we see you sort of come in and you move up to the bar and you order, you don't really see anything out of the ordinary. Steam, there's the room seems to be lively. there seems to be, purveyors of pleasure, vice, kind of moving through the crowd, both men and women. There are definitely servers that are kind of working the room and making sure that everybody's drinks are taken care of. But for the most part, it appears to be, a normal set of operations. So it's with that, as you're just kind of taking in the room, that OC also enters. And as you're kind of taking in the place, you also notice that nothing seems to be out of the ordinary, except for the fact that you only see one of the three girls that you would typically expect to see working on this night actually working the room. And that kind of strikes you as different. And so that kind of piques your that itches that little part in the back of your brain. Now that both of you have entered, talk to me about how Reymond and Nyx are going to enter, because assuming they're coming together as you're going to maintain Nyx's facade, his role as your assistant, correct? Mm-hmm. Is that what's going to happen? Okay, so talk to me about how you guys enter.
Well, I suspect that Nyx would open the door for Reymond to allow him to walk through, and then close it behind him. And then, he is.
Is there a blade that's involved with that, Nyx?
No.
I mean, is there something like a gun, maybe?
Nope.
Okay.
And Reymond would be
upstairs room. He'll open any door he wants.
We're gonna go back out. We're gonna do this again properly.
Yeah,
right.
Nyx opens the door and holds it in, and he has his his attaché case with his documents inside of it, and he looks not as fancied up as he did for the Rowan meeting, because that was a in-home dinner, but he looks well dressed. Not to overdo Lord Bowerstone, but he looks well dressed, and he opens the door and allows him to enter, and then walks in behind him.
Okay, so as you walk into the Vale as well, I mean, this is a very common setup and setting situation for Reymond. You're familiar with. You feel very comfortable, and you notice at different spots in the room, OC and Steam just kind of enjoying a drink. Do you actually wave, Steam? Do you actually wave at him?
He's so excited he's got his first loadout, and he's just like...
OC's drinking her signature drink, just chilling.
I have a silence potion.
Hey guys!
I have a blade or two.
I know them!
I'm just imagining OC looking around at the three of you going, amateurs.
She's just sitting there like, you're gonna get us fucking killed, you're gonna have to kill people. This is the worst.
All right, so Reymond, as you enter and Nyx is kind of following up behind you, you're approached almost immediately by what looks to be one of the regular servers that you know quite well, a young woman by the name of Anne, who looks to you immediately and looks you over and says, "Wow, Reymond, you look really nice tonight. That's nice." And she says, "Lord Balmor is actually waiting for you in a private room in the back. If you'll follow me, you and your manservant there." And she begins to kind of lead you towards the back. And OC and Steam, you notice that Reymond and Nyx are being led to what you know is the some of the private rooms towards the back of the Vale on this floor. And they.
The serving girl, what does she look like? And what's her name?
Her name is Anne. Mm-hmm. She is a 20-something young woman dressed in whatever the standard uniform dress is of the Vale servers. Mm-hmm. She is someone you would see that as very common. She's been working there for a couple of years. If you were a regular attendee or a regular guest of the Vale, she mostly focuses on making sure that people are taken care of in essentially the sort of the food area, the places where people sit down to actually have a meal at the Vale. And that's how Reymond knows Anne, is because he spent so much time actually indulging in food, in meals at the Vale. So,
does she look like someone who'd be missed?
She knew Reymond by name and called him by his first name informally. So, yes.
And kill her later.
I said I'm never naming another NPC ever again. They're all named Aldo.
She called me a manservant. Mitch has frustrations.
Well, you're absolutely right, but you were also dressed as a manservant in a lot of ways. You represent...
Campaign manager is the polite term.
Well, maybe you should have introduced yourself as the campaign manager.
He does with
So Anne begins to move, lead you two in towards the back, and she takes you down a small hallway. Both of you have been down here for various reasons in conducting meetings that do not involve business. And you do a couple of twists and turns, and you find yourself at a door where she knocks, and she says, "Mr. Bowerstone for Lord Balmore." And you hear an enter, and as the door slides open, you actually see a set of stairs leading you down. Is a different gentleman. Kind of gruff, maybe 25, scraggly beard. And he says, "You gentlemen need to come with me." And as the door was opened, you hear some grunting and some groaning and some slapping. And you hear some cheers. And the smell kind of hits you, and it's a humid, sort of musty kind of smell with a sickly sweet sort of tang to the air. And as the man begins to lead you down, you go to this, you take the walk down these steps, turn a corner, and you find yourself in quite a large room where there are men, mostly men actually, but a couple of women kind of interspersed in a crowd surrounded what sounds to you like a fisticuff exchange is happening at the center of. And the guy leads you around in the circle, and you find yourself standing next to quite a tall man, as the young man kind of taps this older gentleman on the shoulder and points, and some coin is exchanged. And this gentleman turns, and you see that it is actually Lord Balmore. And he reaches out to you, Reymond, and offers you his hand immediately. It's, "Put her there."
Go shake it.
Well,
Lord Balmore, this is certainly not quite what I was expecting.
Well, this is one of those circumstances where we have a good time here. And I thought if we're going to have a conversation, we might as well be a little bit honest about the circumstances. So, welcome. What can I do for you?
First of all, you can tell me who to wager on first. Who'd you put your money on?
Oh, this isn't about money. And as you kind of look around as he says that, you start to recognize some of the faces in the crowd. And you realize that some of these individuals are from some of the various noble houses that you've seen in the area.
Oh, gee, right.
And when you look a little bit closer at the two that are exchanging hits in the ring, in the center of this ring of people, you realize that there are two noble house lords. One, a significant Leviathan, head of a Leviathan hunter family, and another one who just happens to be old money. And they're, one of them is in his late 20s, the other one is in early 40s, and they are just circling and beating the hell out of each other. He says, "This isn't about money. This is a contest of strength." And you take it in again, and you realize that one of them actually has this, one of the two in the ring actually has a blade in his hand, and he is swiping, at the older gentleman who he's fighting, and the older gentleman's just slapping it away and pushing him and slapping it away and almost toying with the younger nobleman that is fighting. He says, "So, you've never been brought down here before?"
Can't say I have. Interesting sort of entertainment. Although, I must say, I do like it. Leave your titles at the door and see what type of a true person you really are.
Ha ha ha, and he slaps you on the back. It's only then that you realize, the real difference in size between the two of you. I'm assuming that Reymond is probably a good 6 foot tall. Kind of a lanky, muscular, but still very lanky.
He's lean. He's more lean than muscle.
So he's more of an athletic build kind of a thing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
When you take in Lord Balmore, he's an incredibly gruff individual, very muscular. I mean, he's a gentleman in probably his early 50s. He's got a few scars that you can see on his hands, and one on his face, just a little nick. But you understand that that's the kind of thing that you are going to experience, or get when you are are a blue coat, and you've had a career in the blue coats. Now, he slaps you on the back and he says, "Well, I'm glad you see it that way, because, well, I thought we could indulge ourselves a little bit before we have a chat." And at that, you're taken back a little bit in shock as he kind of waves his hand to what you see as the attendant. Now, while he's waving his hand to the attendant, your focus is drawn back to the fight in the middle of the ring, and there's a snap that draws your attention. And what you see is that the older gentleman has taken the arm of the younger gentleman with the blade and has snapped it. And immediately you hear this snap, and there's this cry of pain as his arm is just kind of beginning to dangle, and he's starting to back off, and he's trying to kind of protect himself with the other hand. And the older gentleman just cocks back and just clocks him across the jaw. And it's like the lights went out, and he's knocked, and he falls straight to the ground. And there's a huge roar from the crowd, and there's some screams, and there's calls for drinks as the circle begins to kind of dissipate for a little bit. And it's only as you turn back that Lord Balmore is kind of turning back to you and says, "Okay, well, great, we're next." And he says, "Take your man and be prepared." And he begins to move off to the side to greet the victor and get a drink.
He's just going to turn to Nyx.
Nyx is visibly agitated.
Why is Nyx visibly agitated?
Because this is his element and he cannot do it. Because he has to let Bowerstone fight. And he has zero confidence in Bowerstone's ability to do anything. And he just has to watch as someone else gives Bowerstone the beating that Nyx wants to give to him.
Okay. Bowerstone, you've been given a couple of moments to get prepared. Mm-hmm. How are you going to prepare?
Well, Reymond's not much of a religious man, but he might start praying. And he's going to take off his garbs. Take off basically all his fancy equipment down to his, I don't know what you'd call them, Calvin Kleins. And then be ready to fight. No weapons.
So you basically strip down to your underoos.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right.
Is everyone else in their underwear, or is Bowerstone just now in his underwear surrounded by a bunch of men?
Just him.
Okay. Just checking. I just,
We don't dirty the fancy clothes, OC.
Okay.
No comment on that.
So Reymond is currently stripping down. Nyx, are you helping him at all?
No, don't touch me. I'll undress myself.
No. Nyx isn't. He's just gritting his teeth and cracking his knuckles as he watches this happen and watches him enter the ring.
And Reymond is just going to whisper to Nyx, "Remember the gondoliers?"
No, I don't.
Good.
All right. So we're going to cut real quick up to OC and Steam, who are currently a little perplexed about the circumstances in which Reymond and Nyx have disappeared. What are you guys doing?
OC would know that people disappear because people have different vices. She doesn't know why, obviously, but she knows people leave and come back later and come and go as they please. So she's just probably... So about that God comment.
Yeah,
she makes sure that she's quiet enough no one's listening or can hear anything, but...
Right, and in the background of Steam, what he's going to do is basically, if he's going to rely on OC to let him know whether or not something is out of order, because she knows the back rooms better than he does. And he can, identify problems, but, if they disappear down a room, he'll give her a glance. If she says, doesn't do anything, then he assumes everything's fine.
Yeah. She's going to shoot back the rest of her drink, order another, and say, so about that God comment. Just brush right past them leaving.
Of course.
Okay. So if you guys aren't taking any further action, we're going to immediately cut back to the ring beginning to form around Bowerstone and Lord Balmore. Now, when you saw Lord Balmore as he was standing there, it was kind of in the dark, and there were some lit torches around the room, some lamps and that kind of a thing. The Veil often operates with electric light based on the plasm, electroplasm and the energy. But down here, it feels a little bit more, play with shadows, as there are various lamps and kind of torches around the room. So you didn't get quite as much of a gauge of what he was wearing, but you did see that he was wearing his at that point when you met him, he was wearing his finely ornate blue coat that he would wear as a member of his station, and that he appeared to have the rest of his his uniform on. But now that you see him, he steps forward inside of the ring, and the way that the lamps are kind of positioned around the room, the circle kind of is illuminated a little bit more, and you see him step in, and he's stripped down to just his trousers, but his bare feet, and he's rolled up the cuffs. He's ruffled up the cuffs on around where his feet, so that his pants won't catch. And he is bare-chested otherwise, and you see more cuts and lacerations and scars on his chest and his arms. And for a man in his early 50s, he's still quite well and in shape. And you just get a sense of an oh shit kind of a moment, because this man is formidable. He is a very, very skilled fighter. It is clear that he has survived some level of of circumstance in his life. And so he again moves forward as the circle just begins to kind of finalize and form, and you see various other noble house faces, and you happen to see somebody who represents not Lady Rowan herself, but of the Rowan family, just standing there, which catch you as a little bit off. And he moves forward again. He's like, well, and he offers his hand, saying, may the best man, and all of that.
Sure.
Do you shake his hand?
Yep. I will.
Okay. And he steps back and raises his fists like this. And he's waiting. And you just see him at the ready, and he's waiting.
So if I'm not mistaken, I have a crit.
You now have 2.
You now have 2.
Fuck
So what better? Oh, obviously I'm going to use it now. Otherwise, I'm going to come out looking like a right dick. So
Okay.
I'm going to use one of my crits.
Okay. What are you going to do? How do you approach this?
So, using his size against him, Reymond's going to remember the time he went. Now, I got the words mixed up. It was at Tangletown when he versed as the Baobab, the tallest guy, and he rigged him over. And he's going to essentially be doing the same movement, using the guy's size and momentum against him. So he's going to get in close, and when he's going to go for the first swing, He's going to lean back a bit so it doesn't connect with them, but close enough that he can grab his arm, momentum him down to the ground, and subsequently when he goes down, dislocating the shoulder.
So he doesn't actually attack you. He's waiting for you to attack him.
Right, I'm going to have to try a different strategy then.
Yeah, I think so.
So in that case then, I'm going to advance forward. But as I rush forward and get close, I drop to one knee in an instant and connect fist to his knee and basically try and pop his knee out to drop him to the ground. And when he drops, then his body weight comes down, and then I've got the momentum then to once again get him in a lock. I don't know how far I can go with this crit success.
Well, let's take this one step at a time. Mm-hmm. So you basically move into approach, and you kind of slide down to kick him.
Punch him in the knee. So basically, getting in close to him in the knee. So it's a drop down. So when he goes basically straight down into his knee, so it's quite close quarters combat. Mm-hmm. And by popping his knee out, making him subsequently, I don't know what his reaction's going to be to his knee being popped out. If he's going to drop, if he's going to bend over in pain. It depends what his next move is after that as to...
Okay, so you begin to move in. And this is something where combat gets really interesting, because you're not facing just a normal NPC. This character is actually skilled in some way.
Great.
So when you come in, he immediately steps back, and you take your swing, and you barely connect with him, but it kind of throws him off guard a little bit, and he starts to lose his balance a little bit.
Okay.
So I want you to actually make a roll for this, because what you're facing is you're facing the fact that there is a progress clock to his defenses.
Okay. The crit wouldn't work.
If you want to crit, it's going to completely blow through his entire. It's a 4-segment clock. It'll completely blow through his defenses, but you're going to blow a crit on that.
But yeah, I want to blow a crit on it. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So,
but I can keep going instead of just one punch. If he goes back and it connects with him, Reymond's going to use essentially his momentum that it connects, that he rolls onto his back and with his legs swinging round to hit the same knee. So it's his body momentum and a roll going over and then connecting twice on that knee with two hits.
Okay, so you graze him, you graze the knee, but it sends him off balance in such a way that he actually falls to the ground. And so when he falls to the ground, you're going to spin around and actually connect again with the same fist to the same knee. Okay, and you're using your second crit on that, right? Or are you rolling it?
You know what? The crit was used for this, so yeah, the one that was donated was essentially for this, so I'm going to use 2 crits.
Okay, so first crit comes in, you basically knock out his defenses, you completely blow away the clock, he falls to the ground, you spin around, come around to the next one, and you hear him immediately scream in pain as you shatter his kneecap. And he just immediately falls back and just kind of just lays there, on the ground for a second. And he begins to just scream a blood-curdling scream, and then immediately kind of regains himself and immediately reaches out for you and grabs you by the neck as you're trying to get out of the way, and moves in to just kind of basically bring you in and throw a punch at you, even though you're immediately trying to get away. So you get an opportunity to do something here.
So with that, since he's coming in, I'm essentially thinking he's grabbing me with his left and punching with his right. So
yes,
as he's coming in and punching, Reymond's going to lift up his elbow and try and connect the fist to his elbow, essentially crushing his fingers.
Okay, so you're going to roll that one.
Yep,
what are you rolling?
I've got...
Is that a skirmish?
I was going to say, I can either do a skirmish, but what about finesse?
No, this is not a case. This is straight up fisticuffs.
Okay, well, I'm glad I've got skirmish.
Skirmish or wreck would be.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Wreck would
position.
be the other one.
Is there any positions or anything, or just straight?
Oh yeah, this is a serious position because
Okay.
he's got you right now, right? So this is going to be a desperate position unless anybody else can think of a reason why it would be risky.
I mean, I'm only thinking because I've got 2 upper advantages on a really. So I don't know how much pain he's in, or
He's in a
mental
considerable
thing.
amount of pain, but he's still able to recover enough. I mean, you're dealing with a seasoned fighter here.
All right. So I'm all good with desperate then, because I'm about to lose a few teeth, I think, if this screws. Now the effect I'm guessing is going to be great because essentially what I'm trying to do is shatter his hand, his fighting ability.
You're shattering his hand with what though?
An elbow. So
you're coming in like this.
yeah, straight on. So an elbow, a fingers to elbow essentially wins.
Okay, sure. I'm going to call it standard and not great because it would not incapacitate him.
All right.
You crit
But
fail.
it would take.
Yeah. Now, I'm not using my crit failure deck. I got that for a separate time that's coming up. Now, as bonus dice.
Yeah.
You're kidding.
I would use it. Just use it now.
Right.
It'll be fun.
What are you using?
Someone just donated a crit fail.
Really?
Al's fucking with you hard.
Hang on. What do you say? Can I get that changed?
No, he just donated another one just now.
No, it's another one. He wanted to change it to a crit success, which you used, and now there's a crit fail.
No, but I had a crit success from last game as well.
You used 2 of them so far.
You used 2
You used
already.
2
He's
of
now
them
giving
right
you
now.
a crit fail. It's a different
giving me-
donation.
okay.
Third one.
Ow, I love you. I love you again. And fuck yourself. Is the only thing I can say for that. Do I use the crit fail now?
So you have to ask yourself if he donated something specifically for you to succeed in this particular game, in this particular situation, and now he's donating something that's very specifically for you to fail in this particular situation.
Then it's only fair that I fail.
You don't have to use it right here, though.
But I think it's fair. I think audience participation. If they want to see Bowerstone get his face knocked in, then by all means.
Don't we all?
Fuck you. Let it happen. Crit fail.
Okay, so he's basically, as you're trying to escape, he's grabbed you and he's just kind of leaning up, and the sheer strength of this man, the fact that his kneecap is busted and he's just grabbing you, and you realizing what's going on, go like this, and instead of blocking him, you save your face but expose your side so much, and it comes in and he nails you in the kidney because you're rolling into him basically, and so he nails you into the kidney and knocks the freaking wind out of you, and you feel like ribs begin to kind of crack a little bit in that. So you're going to take level 2 harm with cracked ribs.
Okay.
Being the description of that. Now you can resist this and bring it down to 1, but you will take stress. You'll take whatever, if the roll is. If you succeed, you'll take whatever that roll is in respect to stress.
I think I'm going to do it. I don't like to be harmed.
Okay.
I'd rather be stressed than harmed.
All right. So I'm gonna clarify what I just said in respect to the rule. So you're gonna take 6 stress to do the result, minus the highest dice roll. If you succeed, or you will actually reduce it to a level 1 harm. I'm sorry, be very clear about this. You'll take level 1 harm, but you will take whatever the stress result is. So let's go ahead and do this roll, and then we'll talk specifically about the mechanics of it as it goes.
So what type of roll is this?
That is entirely up to the situation. Typically, in this particular case, it's going to be prowess. Because prowess is how you resist physical harm.
Yeah, because I don't have any proficiency in clench. So, I don't know. Maybe skirmish?
No, it's
literally the attribute and not the action.
Yeah. So bonus dice, I don't think I got any for it.
Unless anybody can think of any reason that it applies, or you're wearing armor, which you're not, because you stripped down to your underoos.
Yeah, I did.
Okay. Go ahead and take that. So go ahead and roll. All right. So you resist it down to badly bruised. So it's, instead of it being cracked ribs at level 2, it's a level 1 badly bruised.
Mm-hmm.
But you also take 3 stress. So you take 6 stress minus your highest die roll in your resistance. So you rolled a 3. So you're going to take only 3 stress, and you're going to add that to your stress table, or your stress bar. All right. And so you roll into him, and he hits you in the side. But it's the kind of situation where it hits hard enough to hurt, but you know it didn't actually do any actual damage. Didn't hit your kidneys, didn't hit your liver, didn't hit your ribs, and it just kind of grazes off. And he's got you wrapped in, close tight right now, and he's trying to kind of move around and reset himself. So you're given an opportunity here to take an action of some kind.
So if he's is he holding me essentially like that?
So you rolled in. So he had grabbed you like this. Mm-hmm. And he was bringing it up so that his fist would meet your face.
Yeah.
And you rolled into him as you were trying to do what you did when you crit failed. And so you were trying to do this to hit this connect, and it didn't work. Yeah. And you instead rolled right into him, basically in his chest. And that's how he kind of had that glancing blow off of your side. So he's basically got you in an unintentional bear hug, but he doesn't have that tight hold of you yet.
If he's doing that, then I'm just going to connect my knee with his knee and keep wailing on that knee. Because if I'm held like that, I'm just going to keep going for that knee to drop him down. And
all right, roll.
He lets me go. Position risky, I'm guessing.
Yeah, this is risky at this point.
And just standard?
Limited, because you're focusing on the knee.
Okay, cool. And limited, and here we... 5.
Okay. So you do kick him, right? You do get, you do knee him in the knee, right? Enough that he kind of jumps back, or lays back down on the ground, kind of letting you go as he just screams in absolute pain again. And you were able to kind of move away from him. How do you extract yourself from the situation, from basically you were pinned on top of him, basically?
So with that, as he goes back and drops to his knee, and I'm guessing it's sort of like that, as he lets go, Reymond just basically pushes him off, and he stumbles back a bit in a fighting stance. So watching him.
Well, he's on the ground. You're on top of him. So you're basically pushing off of him and trying to step away.
Yeah. Okay. So if I'm on top of him, if I'm on top, I'm going to be fist in the air and ready to strike or to move upon what he's giving him an opportunity to surrender. If he does not, he reacts.
Hold on a second. He's just released you because you were kneeing him. You were essentially kneeing his knee and causing him the pain. He releases you. So now, after you've done that and you basically on, over him, kind of in a position over him, you're going to come around and just start to punch him?
No, he's not going to punch him. He's going to be ready to strike, but he's waiting to see if he's had enough. So you could almost call it an intimidation, though, as just this glaring eyes at him, ready to go.
Okay, so as you take that position and you pause for a second, you feel a hit across the side of your face as his arm comes back up and just basically clocks you, knocking you off of him. Now, you're going to take a level 2 harm, fractured jaw, unless you want to resist it.
I will resist it. I can take more stress. Why not?
Okay. So go ahead and resist it. And how are you resisting it?
I'm guessing prowess as it goes again. But are you meaning how?
Yes.
Okay. So
I'm assuming that
with his training, he's going to see a glimpse of the fist just get there, and he knows it's going to connect, but he's going to turn his head in such a way that it doesn't take a full effect into the jaw, but it's an effect that
glances off. Okay. Yeah. So go ahead and roll your resist. Okay, excellent. So You do resist. You take a level 1 harm instead of level 2. You take 1 additional stress. And the blow, as he comes up, it's this this side of the fist, right? Because he's coming up and he's trying to basically knock you off. And instead, as he hits you, it just kind of glances off your chin, but does not fracture it. But you know that it's going to be tender and sore, and there's going to be one hell of a bruise there afterwards. And as he connects, he kind of knocks you off a little bit, but you're more pushed back than knocked off, giving you an opportunity as his arm is now kind of swung over like this.
Okay.
And he's still lying on the ground at this point.
So, I don't know how I can work it like this, but if I can, with my left, sort of holding his elbow so that it's still pushing him like that, and coming down with the right, square on the nose.
Square on the nose. Okay.
Yeah.
Roll it.
Limited again?
Your position is actually going to be controlled here.
Okay.
It's not going to be risky. It's going to be controlled because you've got his arm. The effect, I think, is going to be standard, though, because clocking somebody in the nose could potentially knock them out. It could also just make their nose bleed. No, he's always still going to be the bottom to me.
Thank you. Yes, Bower top now, apparently.
In the chat.
And no bonus dice. Chat's been having way too much fun.
Unless you can justify a reason.
I mean, the fact that he's injured to all hell, and that I've essentially got him in my grips.
You don't necessarily have him in your grips. You've got him. The situation is controlled. That's represented by the fact that you've got his arm pinned like this.
All right. I don't know if
the effect
background training goes into it for story-wise reasons.
Unless it's a part of your role right now, it's not going to apply.
Then let's see what happens. Oh yeah!
Wow, a 6. Okay, so you come in and you clock him and you shatter his nose, and it almost flattens on his face, and he just lets out a guttural "Argh!" And the crowd just screams because they think it's over and that you won, and he's just "Argh!" And he one more punch right into your gut before he passes out. And so when he hits you in the gut, this time again, he hits you with such strength that you get a level 2 harm of cracked ribs again. Do you want to resist?
Yep.
Okay. Go ahead and roll.
Okay. Ooh.
All right. Reymond, I have to ask you a question.
Yes.
You've only resisted 1 out of 6, which means you have 5 additional stress.
Yep. That takes me over.
What's your stress level?
It's at 5 at the moment.
It's at 5 at the moment. That means with another 5, you're going to incapacity, right? You're going to 10.
Yep.
Okay. All right. You are knocked the fuck out from pain as it happens. You resist, but it's such that it hits you in just right that you were knocked out. Now, you collapse on top of him. Next, you see that both combatants have passed out. And there is screaming and yelling and lots of victory. And you are just incredibly jealous by the circumstances of Reymond getting into this fight. But he did hold himself pretty well. How do you attend your incapacitated crewman?
So Nick's, his hand is clenched into a fist, and in his hand, you can see the top of a cork, and he is squeezing tightly on the slumber essence that he has in his hand, which he quickly pockets, walks into the ring, puts a foot on Bowerstone, and rolls him out of the ring, and then rolls the other guy to the ring, takes his jacket off, and says, "Now then, who's next?"
Thanks, buddy.
Okay, I'm gonna set up a couple things here, and then we are fucking doing this still. Because okay,
You gotta finish this. There's no way you can leave it on.
yeah, I can't leave with this, especially with yeah. All right. So real quickly, mechanically speaking, Slade, I want you to do something while this is going on.
All right.
I want you to look in the book, and I want you to look at traumas. You just encountered one. So you get to pick one. Congratulations, this is a bunch of firsts. This is the first time tonight that we've seen overindulgence in the game. This is the first time tonight we've actually seen trauma. So at the end of this fight between Nyx and whoever else, there's going to be you're going to have to tell us what your trauma is.
You're smiling way too much at this.
Me? Absolutely.
Yes.
You have no idea how good this mechanic is and how bad it is at the same time. Okay. Now, Nyx, you step into the ring. And immediately there are calls, who are you? Commoner, no. But then you see a 20-something woman step into the ring. Fiery red hair, tied behind her, wearing essentially a loose-fitting shirt and some trousers, but feet on the floor. And she looks around the room and she says, "Silence! I'll take him." And you realize that this happens to be the woman that was looking on from House Rowan, there to support Lord Bowmore. And she steps up and she lifts her hands and she says, "Okay, let's do this." And she immediately throws a swing and it connects.
Sure.
It's going to connect. Do you want to resist? Do you want to take an action to get out of it? I mean, what do you want to do?
Yeah, so his typical loadout is, his concealed palm pistol is in the jacket he just took off, but his typical loadout is his unusual weapon, which is in the small of his back, which is his hook. And he would like to take the hook out of the small of his back and hook it onto her wrist and spin her away from him.
Ooh, okay. So how are you going to roll that?
Skirmish.
Okay. Position is risky.
Sure. Risky business. Done. Effect?
I'm thinking this is standard or great because you're a skilled fighter with this thing.
Yeah, and I'm actually a trained fighter. The goal is to spin her off kilter and put him at an advantage to come around with another hit.
I'm almost going to, to reflect that, I'm almost going to suggest that we go back and say that the situation is controlled because
Sure.
You are typically, you typically fight with this thing, right?
Yeah. Yep.
This is your weapon of choice.
Yep.
Okay. We're going to call this controlled standard.
Controlled standard.
And
6.
Wow. Okay. So describe to me what happens when she throws and isn't able to connect because you're able to hook her and spin her around.
So she basically connects towards him, and he hooks her like forearm and spins her like a top, and then he cocks back to punch her like in the back of the neck, like back of the head, like while she's like off kilter. He immediately cocks back with the other hand and goes for it, and crit fails due to Wars' donation.
So you are trying to hit her essentially on the back of the head. And instead of it kind of connecting, she spins around again, and you end up hitting her on the forehead, which breaks a couple of fingers immediately, right? So you're going to take, let's see if it's level 2, and you're welcome to resist that. But she spins around again, realizing what you're potentially going to do, and you the connect with the forehead, and you couple of fingers begin to crack and break, and you feel it. So go ahead and roll me a resist of some kind.
Sure. So no bonus dice, I assume, for this. I can't think of any reason to have any.
I mean, you're not wearing any armor. You're not, okay.
You're frequent with taking a beating?
He's not. He's frequently giving beatings. In fact,
he's a sadist, not a masochist.
This is the first time he's been struck the entire 2 seasons. Boo!
Ooh. Wow. Yeah, so you take 5 stress, and instead, your fingers are really, really bruised, and your wrist feels a little bit shaky. So we're going to call that sprained wrist.
That's level 2.
Level 1, because you resisted it, right? So
Okay.
you're resisting, so it drops down to the next level, and then you just take the 5 stress instead.
And a trauma.
Do you drop?
Well, when you gain stress to the max, can you still keep fighting after you get max stress?
No, you. So when you take the maximum amount of stress on your bar,
Mm-hmm.
you are taken out of the current set of action.
So then my question for you, to keep this humility going, is, does this count as indulging my vice?
Ooh,
I think it does.
wow!
I'm not just saying that.
I love it.
He gets off on this shit. It's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna say yes, and that before we determine the results of what happens from that trauma, go ahead and roll us an indulge vice.
Okay.
You've got how much stress before this roll?
Before I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
All right,
so-
do it.
High
I'm going
rolls,
to-
buddy.
I'm going to roll a 3, but I have functioning vice. When I indulge my vice, I can adjust the dice outcome by 1 or 2, up or down. So I am adjusting it up, so I lose 5.
So you lose 5.
Yep.
You have 7. You just take another 5.
Yep, so I'm back
So
in.
you're back to 7.
I'm back in
You're
the game.
back to 7. So,
is
your
every,
wrist.
is every successful hit an indulgence of my vice?
I think this is only going to be a one-time
okay.
thing
That would be funny.
because when you described your vice, right? It was about
Delivering
essentially,
the beating,
yeah, it was about the physical act of the violence, whatever that violence was. It was the physical act of violence, right? So in the case where we saw Clav, who you subsequently killed,
Mhm.
it was the physical beating. It was the actual act of beating, the intent, and not just the act of each blow.
Mhm.
So, no, that it won't. It'll apply only this once.
Okay.
Although it was a great question, and I fucking hate you for it because I wanted you to take a trauma too. Damn it.
I mean, I'm okay with one.
No, it's okay. But so you're back to 7, and she just, as she leans forward, she hits, your wrist hits, but you resist, and you take the essentially a sprain.
Mhm.
You take the level 1 harm, and she immediately. Go ahead.
So, judging by the fight he's seen, like the end of the first fight, the second fight, there's no killing people. Right? That's fairly established, I would assume. Like Fight Club rules apply. No one gets murdered.
They were using weapons.
We are using weapons, which is why I asked the question.
They were using weapons, but nobody talked to Reymond about rules.
Yeah, no one mentioned rules at all.
Yeah, well, no
No
one
one
talks about Fight Club.
You're fired. Get out. So.
His name is Robert Paulson.
Oh shit! All right, so are you intending to murder this particular woman?
I
then?
mean,
because nobody spoke to you about rules.
we'll see. So he takes the sprained wrist and he reels back with that broken wrist, or that injured wrist, and swings with that hook again.
Wait a minute. Which hand do you use your hook in?
Not the one he just punched her with, obviously, because you can't punch. and
Okay.
hold
Well,
the hook.
so which one did you punch her with? Did you punch her with your right or your left?
My right.
Okay. All right. So with your hook, you immediately try to move in for.
So the intent here is to hook the back of her neck and bring her in for a headbutt. If it goes awry, oops.
Well, so she's gonna. So as she kind of hits you here, and you're starting to reel back, and you're coming in for the next one, she immediately throws another punch at you. Like she comes in with a lower, into the stomach kind of a thing. And so while she doesn't really connect very well, you do take level 1 you do take level 1 harm, because she basically, it was into the gut at the front, basically knocking the wind out of you. So I'm not sure how to quite describe the type of injury it is, but it is definitely enough to give you some sort of physical, almost like having your insides basically bruised.
Bruised, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So bruised abdomen, it would be the narrative description, I guess.
Sure.
For it. Do you want to resist that, or do you want to keep moving forward?
No, he'll take the level 1 bruise because he basically steps into the punch, so that she doesn't
Okay.
have as far to connect to, so there's not as much force
Okay.
behind it. He steps into it to hook the back of her neck, and deliver a righteous headbutt to her face.
Okay, roll it.
So what do you want to do for position and effect?
I'd say this is risky.
Risky. Okay. And effect.
Are you intending to hit her back on the forehead,
so
or are you going?
The intention is to hook the back of her neck and bring her forward and drive his forehead into her face, like break her nose situation.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I thought you were headbutting her. I didn't realize you were hooking her and then.
Yeah,
headbutting
hooking.
her.
So the grab the hook
Okay.
and bring her forward and headbutt.
So it's risky, but I think the effect is going to be great
Okay.
because the use of the weapon puts you in quite a good
Oh shit! I forgot my weapon
circumstance.
gives me a +1.
+1 what?
+1 die because I have a weapon.
Okay.
It's not a fine weapon, so it doesn't get a +2, but it gets +1.
Okay.
4.
Okay. So you hook her and bring her in, and describe to me what it's like when you actually make the connection with her, wherever you're headbutting her
Yeah,
on her face.
so he basically steps in, he sees her reel back with the punch, and he steps into it. And when he does so, he sees her looking down, trying to make the connection. He sweeps in with the hook, basically it goes around the back of her neck, as if his hand were there, and he just draws her in with his full arm strength into the crown of his head, and just cracks her face on the top of his head, and just blood just sprays out the side of her nose as it shatters on his head.
Okay, so as you're doing that, and she comes in, she starts to reel back, and as a consequence of that, the 4, while she started to kind of reel and fall back, and she begins to fall, she immediately kicks out and nails you in the groin, and you're going to take another level 1, feeling very bruised balls essentially.
Sure. So when you have both level 1s filled and it becomes level 2, how does that work? Does your level 1 go away, or do you have 2 level 1s and a level 2?
Well, you'll have the 2 level 1s. I actually don't know. We've not dealt with this much combat in one setting before. So Greg, do you know? Can you do me a favor and look that up?
Could you ask someone in chat?
So,
or chat could tell us too.
Yeah.
Anyways,
You guys know what's
but so what's going to happen for her though is because you essentially headbutted her into into her nose, and she's falling back. She falls to the ground. She falls out over incapacitated. So she is out like a light. So you've basically taken her out. And there's actually first there's mutterings, and then there's some cheering. And the person that you saw as the person managing the ring just kind of walks up, pats you on the back. Good show. I think you need to take your friend and get out of here right now, is what he says to you as you kind of walk up. And the ring starts to step back as everybody begins to kind of grab drinks again. And you see that both Reymond and Lord Balmore are being attended by Physicers, just kind of standing there. One Physicer is kind of binding Lord Balmore's knee, and seeing to his broken nose, as Reymond, while he has just essentially some bruises all over himself, appears to be in some sort of shock or whatever, and so he's kind of dazed and just not really 100% kind of functioning. And as you walk up, go ahead, Greg.
If you need to mark a harm level, but that row is already filled, the harm moves up to the next row above.
Okay, that's what I thought.
And you still have those descriptors there, but it's now level 2 harm. Okay, excellent. Cool. So you see that both are being attended to, and the person that is also attending to Lord Balmore realizes that you are the person connected to Bowerstone, and he walks up to you as he's like a servant or attendant or something. He's like, Lord Balmore kind of assumed that this might actually happen. He always takes risks. He says, here is a note containing some details about which he wanted to discuss. If you have any questions, please send us a note, and we'll try to reconvene at a more appropriate time. He looks at you and he kind of shrugs and he says "nobles" under his breath, and moves back to Balmor.
Yeah. So he looks. So in what state does Bowerstone look like? Is he all like dazed and confused?
Oh, Balmor is
Reymond.
Sorry, Bowerstone is. His clock has been. He's kind of like the world is spinning, and he's kind of reeling, and so he's in shock in some ways because he's just taken so much physical damage, and at the same time done. He's in shock really, for lack of a better description. But that's the trauma that he's basically. That's what sent him to the trauma. Is what he's stressed. He hit his stress level. He kind of maxed out, and he's just overwhelmed and exhausted.
Okay. Yeah. Nyx leaves him. He leaves them in the care of the Physiker.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Nyx is on a high from middle of combat, and he wasn't done beating on that lady, and she passed out. He wasn't, and there's people around. He can't just beat her into a pulp. So now he's in like this fog of war, and he sees that he's being attended, and he gets his coat, and begins to collects his satchel, and begins to walk upstairs.
Okay, you see the Physiker beginning to move the young woman away from you, away from the center of the ring, over toward the Physicers as well, as other people are having a drink. An attendant from. Are there like tables and drinks and shit down here? Sorry. Oh, there's all kinds of drinks and.
Oh, then he goes. He lets the Physiker go, and he goes to one of the tables, and
starts to drink.
Yeah, I didn't realize there was drinks.
Okay, so do you make your way back upstairs eventually? Because the attendants with the Physicers with Bowerstone and Balmor are just they're working on them, and then at some point they just kind of leave them there as the festivities continue, and another fight happens, and this time it's between an older woman and a younger woman, and they're using swords, and they're exhibiting different styles of sword play as they're attacking each other.
Mm-hmm. No
missed opportunity.
So he will. So he'll position, like he'll get and like throw an arm over his shoulder, Reymond, and like bring him over to one of the tables and sit him down, comfortable-ish on one of the things, and then he begins making small talk with all these random people.
At first, they look at you kind of odd because, again, you realize that these are noble folk. But when they realize, the strength with which you fought and the gusto with which you showed, as you begin to try to talk them up, you find that you become accepted, even though you are the exception in the room.
Okay.
But you definitely there's a little bit of frivolity, and there are some requests for you to come back again.
Yeah. Nyx he rubs elbows, he bumps shoulders, and he is making some new friends.
Absolutely. And so we're gonna cut to upstairs. OC, Steam. It's been a couple hours.
Yeah, OC's pretty drunk. OC's like, Steam's not drinking that much. He'll deal with things if stuff happens.
Wow. Okay. Steam, anything? Any care? Okay. So I think this is a good point to kind of begin to shift it towards the end of the score, because there's not really fights happened, it's done, but you've received information from Lord Balmor in the form of the note. So because we're a half hour over already, I think we're gonna sort of kind of end it here, but two things are going to happen first. First, Nyx, you're going to open the letter.
Sure.
Because you're very curious, even though it was meant for Bowerstone.
Absolutely.
You're going to open the letter.
That was never a question that Nyx wasn't opening up.
Okay. So in the letter, mostly are just various details about the type of support that the Bowermore family is going to offer Bowerstone in conjunction with correspondence with Lady Rowan. Most of it is just inane, terrible details. But there's a couple of things that stand out at the end. The first is concerns over your desire or Bowerstone's desire to implement a separate set of peacekeepers in Crowsfoot, and that that discussion will have to happen so that Lord Balmore understands what you're trying to do. Being a blue coat, he expresses, I need to understand the circumstances of what you're understand the intent, right? The second thing he says is, and I have a personal favor. We understand that you have various connections into Crowsfoot. We are looking for any rumors related to a hidden meeting that is supposedly happening in Brightstone 1 week hence. If you can provide Lord Balmore with any details from what you hear going on in Crowsfoot, please let him know. They are very concerned about this particular meeting, and any insight or details or anything from that circumstance would win his favor. And at the end, it says sincerely, etc., Lord Balmore. And he says, P.S., please come back at your earliest convenience. And again, it's clear from the intent of the letter, he knew that this circumstance was possibly going to happen, so he wrote it all in advance. Cool. And the second thing we're going to do is we're going to do rewards real quick. We're going to start the downtime, and then we'll get quickly into character XP and stuff like that, and go from there. Mm-hmm. Okay, so payoff. This is a pretty substantial score. You're dealing with blue coats. You're dealing with the leader of the blue, or the commander of the blue coats, in Brightstone. You're also dealing with one of the noble families. Reymond also handled himself incredibly well from a reputation perspective. So, by default, we start off with 2 rep. Brightstone Brightstone Bluecoats would give you a +1 to rep. Noble family +1 to rep. In a public place, that sounds like another +1 to rep. Among the noble families, this is a pretty significant event for you.
All right, so 1 for noble family, 1 for blue coat, 1 for public,
and that's going to be 5 altogether. So, with the two by default.
So 5 altogether.
So in addition to the 2, so you're going to get 5 altogether.
Okay.
All right. Now payoff. Again, this is a pretty significant thing. I don't think it's a big score. I don't think it's necessarily a small job. I think it's a standard score, so that means 6 coin for you guys. And then with that, we'll talk about heat as well. Nobody died. You're not at war with anybody. Situation did not happen on hostile turf. However, this was a pretty high-profile target.
It actually happened on home turf.
In action on home turf. So it was a high-profile target, but it happened on home turf. I'm going to say that that's going to negate that one. And so, but it was a pretty contained event where you were pretty public about what you guys were doing. So I'm going to say it's 2 heat for you guys.
Okay.
And with that, we'll do the rest of downtime next week. And let's get into character XP.
Cool. Steam, you want to lead us off with your XP?
Sure thing. I did absolutely nothing. Next.
No.
That's not true, actually.
You helped. You were a big part of me blowing off some steam.
Yeah, I didn't do anything.
Hold on a second. Let's look at your character sheet. Let's look at your character sheet real quick. All right. So you definitely didn't do a desperate roll of any kind. Did you handle a challenge with a stealth or evasion?
Okay, no. He did stealth out when he was in the house.
Yep. You can call that a challenge if you will.
I'm not accepting that. That's
okay.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
I don't care what you want. We're trying to help you. Fucking accept it.
One of us.
What about beliefs, drives, heritage, and background?
You
I
did,
think
Yep.
a couple of
did bring OC to the boat.
That's not where we actually did it, though.
That's your drives. Your drive is to push me and get me to realize, like, see your whatever. And you did push me
You did
using
the
your.
whole, a god must be strong.
that whole beliefs, drives, heritage, and background thing. That plays on 3 of those, man. That's beliefs. You believe she's a god. Your drive to make her a better god, and then your background is you're a god.
Sure.
So
okay.
that definitely
least
applies.
two.
That definitely applies to 1. But I also think that your belief, drives, heritage, and background came into play as well in the long conversation that you guys had. You definitely shared bits of information that you had about the circumstances and how you were you could but could not help Reymond with his parents' situation. Yes? No? You don't believe that?
Sure. No, sure. That's fine. What is that, 3?
No, it's 2.
Okay.
No, he's getting ahead of himself.
You did not struggle with your vice or trauma.
Nope, I did not.
Okay, so that's 2. Let's go with OC next.
I believe she, when she overindulged, that's definitely trauma, right? Or no, struggle with my vice. Sorry, so that's 1.
Yeah, you struggle with your vice. That's definitely 1.
And my beliefs drive heritage. Definitely when we were at the house talking
Okay.
about how I'm pro Shroud. I wasn't going to go back to my sisters with the information.
Right. That's also going to come up. So you're going to get XP for that, but I want you to remember that's going to come up as well in your crew, because there was a lot of inner conflict expressed in the crew this week, which was a real surprise for me, actually, what you guys did at the table.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't address a challenge with a deception or influence.
Influence, maybe.
Oh, the information roll. Right,
Okay.
the information gathering roll. Okay, so that's 1 for that.
So
And it
it's
sounds
3.
like you're getting 2 for belief, drives, heritage, and background, because of you shared a lot with the crew in that conversation. So I think you deserve 2 for that, because there was a lot about your background in there, and about you were expressing that your loyalty to the crew. So I think that's 4 altogether. So it's
Okay.
1 for deception or influence, 2 for belief, drives, heritage, or background, and 1 for vice or trauma.
I am a master. Swordswoman.
You are a master swordswoman. Okay, so I want you to talk briefly about that next week.
Yep.
Okay, so that's 4. Slade, let's do you. And before we do your XP, I want to talk about your trauma.
Oh, yes.
What did you pick?
I picked unstable, because it seems like the most fitting of them all.
Okay.
So yeah.
All right. So moving forward, and the reason I'm highlighting this during the XP delivery is because I want to be clear about how this comes up as a part of that struggle with your vice or trauma. So it's going to be on you to play that unstable nature in the game. Like if there's a conversation going on where Reymond is, Alderman Bowerstone, he's giving a speech or whatever, and something triggers him and he starts to go a little off. That's going to be on you.
Yeah.
But when you do that, that's going to also give you a point of XP up to a maximum of 2 in that field of struggle with your vice or trauma.
Yeah, I think with what's been happened today, and when it was touched on at the house, now that it's an actual trauma, I can start claiming on it.
Right, exactly. So, okay, with all of that, that's awesome. You did roll a desperate roll.
Yep, I sure did.
So that goes into, which one was it? It was, I believe, prowess that you got it for.
That is correct.
Excellent. You struggled, or you did a challenge with deception or influence. The fight technically counts as influence.
Does it?
It does, because,
Okay.
and here's why. You weren't supposed to knock him out. He wasn't supposed to knock you out.
Mhm.
There was actually supposed to be a conversation.
Was there?
That did not happen. So you went balls out to beat the hell out of him. So
Yes.
that was establishing dominance. That was definitely influence. So go ahead and take a 1 of influence there.
Lovely.
I think you deserve 2 for beliefs, drives, heritage, and background, not for any specific reason, but for all the reveals that came up in that
there's a
long
lot
conversation. Yeah.
A lot that happened.
I don't think you struggled with your vice or trauma this time around.
No, I mean, my trauma has nothing to do with his background. His vice, rather, has nothing to do with his background. His vice is luxuries, so he didn't
Right.
struggle with anything like that. But
Absolutely.
next time.
Absolutely. Okay, so that sounds like it's 4 to me.
Correct.
Excellent. All right, let's move on to Nyx.
Okay, so I had a desperate roll. I tracked that
Absolutely.
one already. Address the challenge with calculation conspiracy. I don't know. The Bowerstone's house. Plotting to get information and dirt on Bowmore.
Okay.
Those all occur as possible options.
Okay. So that's 2, sounds like.
2. Beliefs, heritage, drives, or background. I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't really think so. I don't think he expressed anything like that. I mean, he essentially told Bowerstone that he's a puppet, and then laid out the plans for his puppetry. But I don't think that really counts as any of those things. And then lastly, struggled with issues from his vice or trauma. I would say yes, 1 for that fight. That's
definitely
the first time he's been hit, and the first time he's had to actually defend himself, and he took a good couple lumps.
Well, you had to watch on as well.
I also had to
Exactly.
watch. Yeah.
Exactly.
I had to watch someone else beat your face in.
So I think it's watching the fight and not being involved in the fight that gets you the struggle with your issues of vice, because you immediately commented that you were struggling, you were having problems with the circumstance. So I don't think the physical act of the fight really is a struggle with your trauma, because you ultimately not only indulged your vice but got through the fight without being basically unscathed. If you had been beaten, I think that could be argued as a second one, because I don't think Nyx has ever been beaten up in a fight, or he's ever been taken out in a fight.
Right.
So okay, so that sounds like 4 to me, 1 for each.
Yep.
Are you like the Khal Drogo of Doskvol?
Yeah.
Technically, that's not true, because his flotilla was destroyed by.
Yeah.
So.
All my family and friends are dead. Push me to the edge. And our crew. So we executed a successful espionage or sabotage or whatever mission. I assume that's espionage. Is that what that counts for?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was meant to be social. It was meant to be social.
Yeah.
What's fighting among friends?
We contended with challenges above our station. There's another 1 for that.
The blue coats.
Mm-hmm.
We bolstered our crew's reputation. There's another 1 for that. And we expressed the goals, drives, and inner conflict. We had a lot of inner conflict.
Had a lot of outer conflict.
At
as
least
well.
2.
Yeah.
At least 2. And you guys deserve more than 2, honestly. There was a lot going on today.
Cool. So
But
Maybe
you guys get 2.
Maybe 3. Not wanting to talk about the ghost situation, the situation between Nyx and I, and then the situation at the Vale.
There's also Lady Rowan.
Sure, but you guys can only get a maximum 2 for any particular entry
Let's
on that.
fight next.
I agree that you guys deserve more than 2, because there was a lot of things going on in that conversation. I expected that conversation to be maybe 10 or 15 minutes, and you guys ended up taking an hour. So you guys did amazing, but it was a lot going on. So okay, and so with that, it's back over to you, Mike.
Sweet. So guys, we're gonna get out of here. We have D&D tomorrow at 7 o'clock. We have a 12-hour stream this Saturday for charity. Definitely check that out. We have 4 3-hour one-shots. We have a 6 and 20 one-shot. We have some space with Coriolis. We have some other stuff. We have Mad Fishmongers, Mad Wizard Tower, and a couple other things. So definitely check that out. So far, we've raised $1,800 for charity this year. So definitely, it's for a good cause. Jump in there and please donate to that charity cause. Yeah, we'll do introductions for our cast and crew here. And we'll start with Greg. Who are you? What are you doing here? And what do you think of tonight's episode?
Greg, Grimjack21502 on Twitch and Twitter. It was a great episode. I love everything you guys did. Like I said, I'll get to roll one of these days. I'm looking forward to
Baby
it.
steps. You got a loadout.
I got my loadout. So. But no, I'll see you guys here next week. Had a blast. Over and out.
We'll go over to Exposition Ninja. Who are you? What are you doing here? And what did you think of this episode?
I liked that I got to kind of bring Steam into what's going on with me, what's going on with OC. And I think it sets up like kind of a dynamic for, each of us have our own relationships between the team. And I think we're really starting to like be more, despite not, doing much today, and you and I bench warming a little bit. I think we got a lot backstory wise accomplished, especially while we were at Bowerstone's place. So I like the episode. I can't wait to do stuff. Check it out.
Someone who did stuff and got knocked unconscious for the first time. Slade, who are you? What are you doing here? And how often do you get knocked unconscious in real life?
Is that a trick question? Yeah, I wasn't expecting politics to hurt like this. Yeah, every time that we seem to set something up with politics, it goes the completely opposite way, so I think I'm going to have to adjust. But yeah, I'm Slade for Quick Dice Gaming, streamer here on Twitch weekdays, and I think tonight was probably one of my favorite episodes we've done. Just the scene that was played out between everyone conversing. Was not expecting that tonight, as far as things were concerned. So that was quite cool to have that RP session. So it was a pleasure.
Sweet. And last but definitely not least, we will skip Johnny again. And VideostoreCowboy, who are you? What are you doing here? And what did you think of tonight's episode?
Who, me?
Yeah, you get to go this time.
Wow, I'm okay. I was going to try to pull a Trendane, but because I kind of figured that was going to come up, but whatever. I'm Johnny, GM for 6 and 20. We got tonight's crew, the Shroud. We have tomorrow night's crew over on Not So Speed Runs. That's the Phantom. I'm sure that they're going to be reacting because a lot was discussed about them tonight, indirectly and a little bit directly. And finally, yes, I know I've been saying this for 5 weeks, but finally next week we're going to have a third crew starting on Tuesday nights. I will announce on the Twitters. Otherwise, you can find me hanging out on Saturday. I'll be running the 6 and 20 one-shot. I believe I will also be in the Coriolis game, and I'm around. So what I thought about tonight's game, I had the idea for this particular turn of events this afternoon. I thought it really worked out incredibly well for both Nyx and Reymond. Little disappointed that the conversation didn't happen between Reymond and Bowerstone, but at the end of the day, it's still very cool. I also saw an opportunity for OC to actually fight the good fight. I'm really sorry it didn't happen. I was hoping for a sword fight tonight for you in that fighting ring. And Steam, buddy, we're gonna fix this. You need to get a little bit more dice rolling going on. We're gonna fix this. So thanks, guys. Really appreciate it.
Sweet. And with that, guys, we're gonna go throw the raid host over to our friend Bubbernot, who's currently playing some D&D in his homebrew world called Shackled City. So definitely go check that guy out. And from all of us to you, bye bye.